I'm losing my way. You've gotten to me, and that's my mistake. Some might say I can't get too far without seeing your face. Oh, you gave me your heart and took it away. I'm going underground, going underground. Say your loving comes around, going underground, 'cause your love is not around anymore. Going underground.
evening, one and all. Welcome to the most beautiful, most stunning circuit on planet Earth. This is the Misano World Circuit in the beautiful Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. My name is Alexis Bowen, and joining me tonight we have a debutante commentator for Split Yellow. If he's here, I would like to introduce Tim Lawson. He is not here. That is okay. We will give it a moment, but Tim will be here in very short minutes. But we are here tonight, Misano, for the OOR Simrigs Sprint Series, and we have a mini endurance race. 90 minutes, no mandatory pit stops. You can do whatever strategy you wish tonight. It is free reign, and it is going to be very, very, very exciting. We're already about 3 minutes into qualifying here. It is a 15-minute qualifying session. We'll have Split Yellow running slightly earlier tonight compared to previous nights, but that will lead into a standard starting time for Split Green later on. So, 12 minutes to go out there. Looks like we've got pretty much everyone on track. I absolutely adore this track. It is fantastic. Looking now at Jeremy Talbot. Tim, are you there?
Good evening.
There we are. Hello. Welcome to the commentary booth for the OOR Sprint Series. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Alexis. And yourself?
I am doing fantastic, especially at Misano. I was just going on about how much I love this track. Currently, our fastest time is from Philippa Bakita. She is as quick as ever with a 1:33.2 in that BMW, followed closely by Mitch Hobbs, who I think has made a car change for this round. Oh, and speaking of Mitch Hobbs, that is very high on the curbs, and that is very loose. Those curbs can be very deadly. Let's take a look at the replay. Hobbsies has moved into the Honda from the Mercedes, just runs a bit wide, and oh, there we go. There's the airborne moment.
And there was a discussion earlier in the week advising that those sausage curbs have actually now been taken off the track due to OH&S risk. I think a Porsche driver a couple of years ago actually broke his back doing a very similar thing during the live race.
Yes, the sausage curbs can be very, very dangerous. Of course, we've seen many incidents where sausage curbs have caused issue, particularly at Italian tracks like Misano and, well, more specifically, Monza. There's always been issues with sausage curbs at Monza.
The biggest challenge with Misano I've always found is taking enough of the curb and cutting the track. I just can't find myself to take enough when coming through the inside corners. I'm always a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah, it is certainly a challenge around here to get things right, as Philippa Bakita has gone faster now with a 32.9, already into the 32s from Philippa Bakita, very, very fast, followed closely by Regan Herbert. What is Benjamin Hignett got to do across the line? P4, about 7/10 off of Bakita's fastest time. Very nicely done. Here is Sean Glover, who is about 2.5 tenths up, going through this very tricky section now. You've got to get your braking point really right. He's trying to maximize as much of the track as he can, but he's lost a lot of time on that hairpin, maybe just running that little bit too deep. Through the final corner, yeah, he's gained a little bit on the exit there, but it will move him up one position ahead of Liam Hamilton. That is not the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, that is the imposter Liam Hamilton, as we look now at Connor Hind, who is 4 tenths up on his time.
There's not much separating 4th through to 10th. There's a very tight group in there, and these guys do have the opportunity, with still 8 minutes to go, 2 or 3 tenths on a lap, and they will gain 2 or 3 positions.
Yeah, it's very, very tight throughout most of this field, but I'd say quality position would not be the required goal here, especially given we have a 90-minute race as Connor Hine just loses it on the final corner on that curb. So there goes his lap at the very last moment. He'll be not happy with that, but he'll continue on. Here is Scott Blair, who is currently pretty much stone dead last of the drivers out there on track. We do have Perkins, who is stuck in pit lane. Looks like we only have about 24 drivers tonight.
It's looking like the Ferrari is not the favoured car on this track. They are struggling to get it up into the top 10.
Yeah, the Ferrari is typically not your fastest around here. You do see a bit of BMW action, a bit of Bentley. Bentleys can be pretty strong around here. I think previously you've had, few Mercedes do well, Honda. They can all perform well around here, but even then it's quite close between all of the cars at most tracks now.
Yes, well, we've chosen the Lamborghini as car of choice for this year, and the BOT for the Lamborghini, and the driving style is certainly challenging myself, I know that for sure.
Yes, the Lamborghini can be quite a tricky car to drive. I've driven it a fair few times myself, and yeah, it is been kind when you're kind to it, and if you pushed it a bit beyond where it wants to be, that's when it can kill. We look at Scott Blair now. He's setting a lap time now, I'd say. We'll come through these final sequence of corners. Got to try and keep as much speed through there. If you can, flat on the throttle, then brake as late as possible. He gets a little loose on the inside, but that is the Ferrari doing Ferrari things. He will cross the line and move up to P13. Looking back at Mitch Hobbs, who is up by about 0.3 of a second going through this very tricky hairpin. He's gained more time out of it. So this is a very good lap, and that's too wide. That is way too wide there from Hobbsy, who is unfortunately invalidated his lap, and he'll need to go again, as in chat we have a 2-place grid penalty for car 66 ignoring blue flags. So we do have a penalty in this quali session.
That could be punishing, even though it is a 90-minute race. 2-place grid or 2 grid position loss would not be favoured for these drivers.
No, especially with a grid size as small as 24. Of course, 24 is not terribly small, but it's not massive. Looking on with Mitch Hobbs now, he's gained about a 10th throughout this first sector or so, and is now really pushing on with things as he gets towards this very tricky double right-hander. So he's gained a lot through there. He's about 0.4 up, and he's kept most of his speed on exit, so this is looking like it's going to be a very quick time, although he still has a bit of time to gain to Philippa Bakita, who's done a 32.7. So Bakita as quick as ever around here.
And I've just seen that Bracken has also gained 5 spots on his last lap, having a big jump up, and now runs 9th.
Nicely done with Bracken. Well, Hobbsy's gained a lot of time here. He's going to commit to it. He's about 0.6 up. This should move him into P2, provided he keeps the lap valid, which he does. He's about 0.6 up, and he will move up in the P2 and into the 32s. Nicely done by Hobbsy. Here is Sasha Death in that beautiful Aston Martin, and they've gone and invalidated. So, and they've really stuffed up that final corner. So, another lap or two for them. Here's Connor Hind. He's really looking to make up for that invalidation early. He's gained a lot of time through there. This is towards the start of the lap. He's about 3.5 up already. Hopefully he can hold on to it and move himself up a few positions. He's currently in P10, which is nothing to scoff at, but he definitely want to be further up. This is the Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series, brought to you by the beautiful boys and girls over at Simrigs.com. They have a lot in regards to your sim racing needs. And if you are an OR patron, you can get 5% off on all items on the Simrigs store. Simrigs.com. Now towards the end of Connor Hines' lap, and he's really messed up on that hairpin. He's lost a lot of time there. Can he at least keep it valid and move ahead of Bracken, who is now in P10? Going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. I don't think it's going to be enough. No, it is not. He stays. He's actually equaled the time of Bracken now. We look further up now to Philippa Bakita.
Just got to be impressed with everything that the Philippa does. It's been so consistent for the last few years now. It's an outstanding benchmark for every driver to try and catch the tail of whatever car that she is driving.
Certainly, she is one of the fastest in the world in this game. It is insane how quick she is. She's about a 10th up on a already very quick time. Can she find that little bit of improvement out of it? Nice and committed onto the curbs there, and she tightens up her entry into this hairpin nicely, gets a decent exit, loses a bit of time, gets nice and wide, and that is too wide, so that is invalid. She will go again and try for one last lap.
You can see Hamilton almost 5 tenths up on this lap. That would put him up at least one position, if not two. He could almost move up into third position if he maintains this pace.
Yes, the Lewis Hamilton doppelganger is looking very quick indeed. About half a second up at this stage, loses a bit of time out of that hairpin. That seems to be a common occurrence, but has managed to keep it going now through the final corner. Can Liam do anything about it? It loses a bit of time, so he'll go up to up to P4, but still needs a bit more if he wants to get up into that top 3. So either way, very good effort so far from Liam Hamilton, the Pro-Am. Here's Josh Morgan, who is up 0.3 of a second so far on this lap, so he gets towards the end of it. It's nice and tight through that hairpin. He's gained a bit of time through there on exit. He's lost a bit, but he's still going strong. He's got a car ahead of him. He's got to be careful. And he's managed to gain a bit, but he'll stay in P14 where he is. But he'll have one last chance, one last roll of the dice. Here is Austin McNeil, currently in P13. Little bit of improvement here and he'll move up quite a few positions. Down to Nagel, who is up 0.7 of a second, currently down in P22. Does need a bit more time if he wants to move ahead of Kranich in P21. But he will certainly try and push for it. Currently in P3 is Regan Herbert, who is not finding much improvement at the moment, but Makita out front has actually been able to set a faster time, a 32.6. Wow, that is quick stuff. We'll see what Regan Herbert can do on this final flying lap. Oh, gets a bit loose through there. Manages to hold on to it. Maybe a little bit of grass on the outside there, but the Audi holds strong. Will there be any improvement for Regan Herbert? No, there will not. So Regan Herbert stays in P3. Sasha Def stays in P8. And that does it. So Philippa Bakita continues her flying runner form and takes pole position from Mitch Hobbs and Regan Herbert in P3. Very quick qualifying session.
And rounding out our top 10, we have Hamilton in number 4th. 5th is Hignett. Glover in 6th. Talbot in 7th. Death in 8th. I think Sasha Death is our first pro driver. And we have Blair in 9th and Bracken rounding in our top 10.
I believe Liam Hamilton is also a prime driver. So we have, yeah, Liam Hamilton is at the Pro-Am pole position. Sasha Death down in P8 is the second of the Pro-Am drivers, with McNeil in 13th the third. But either way, they are all very, very fast as we look down the grid to see some very, very wonderful liveries. Which do you think is your favorite, Tim?
I've always got a soft spot for the McLaren, and I don't really care what colour it is. I just think that it's one of the best looking cars on the grid, even though I struggle to drive it. I think it's really set up well. The curves on the car are susceptible to some awesome liveries.
Yeah, that is a very, very fair point to make. I think, yeah, as you see, just that white and black McLaren there looking very lovely. The yellow and orangey brown McLaren to the left. Oh, that is a nice livery from Mike Crick. He is very talented, is Mike Crick, with the graphic design. And nice and quick out there on track too. But I think my favorite out of these ones has got to be the livery that's sitting in P2 on the car of Mitch Hobbs. Although the Hot Wheels livery that Connor Hind has is beautiful.
Yes, it's impressive. The amount of work that goes in for these guys to put these liveries together is absolutely outstanding. I'm lucky to get a black car at the best of times.
Yeah, it is a lot of work that goes into these liveries, and everyone who's managed to put a livery together, we salute you and thank you, because they are all beautiful to look at. As we are about to get the formation lap underway, we have 25 drivers. Looks like we had someone join in late there. But we'll see the OOR safety car make its way to the front, the BMW safety car. And we will get this formation lap underway. So, Misano, located in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. 16 turns around here. All of them will provide some form of challenge for the drivers. It is predominantly used as a motorbike track, and it produces some pretty good motorbike races, I will admit, watching the MotoGP around here. And the full name of the track, actually, is Misano World Circuit Marco Simonelli. Marco Simonelli is, of course, a late motorcycle racer, and they ended up naming the track in his honor. In 90 minutes, we have no mandatory pit stops, so drivers can put together any strategy they want, even if they don't pit at all. That is a strategy that they can do. You don't have to make a pit stop, you don't have to come in for fuel if you don't want, you don't have to come in for tires. You can do the full 90 minutes if you want to suffer. I wouldn't recommend going the full 90 minutes on the one stint, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone does it. Especially given we are at a much cooler time of the day in comparison to qualifying. Tim, do we have any predictions for this one, particularly on the safety car front?
I think there is an 85% chance of safety cars in Misano, especially within the first 2 or 3 laps. So the guys are coming out on cold tyres. The track being 15 degrees will be a little bit greasy, but certainly Bequita is going to be the benchmark for people to beat. we could be negotiating third, fourth, and fifth, believe at this stage.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be a very topsy-turvy race. I think Bakita, similarly to last week, will be challenged somewhat, but we will see what happens. 90 minutes is a very long race. Anything can happen, but we are about to get underway with Bakita from Hobbs, Herbert, Hamilton, Hignett, Glover, Talbot, Def, Blair, and Bracken, your top 10. We are getting ready for 90 minutes of Misano Mayhem, and we are green, and it is a brilliant start from Hamilton in P5, and he's already up to P3, maybe even into P2. But no, Herbert holds on. So it is Bakita who holds strong against Herbert. Hobbs has made a bit of a shocker of a start, but we still move forward. Looks like everyone's gone through right, and there is a Ferrari off. I wonder if that is I reckon that is Simon Scanlon Spidey back there, who has had some contact on the rears and is off track, but I think that is really all the misery you've had. So it is still Bakita from Herbert and Hamilton. So Hobbsy has not had the greatest start. He's dropped behind Herbert, Hamilton, and Hignett, and is now down into P5. Beyond that, we've got Talbot, Def, Blair, Glover, Hind, Bracken, McNeil, Johnston, Taylor, and Morgan, your top 15. As we see a bit of side-by-side further back, it's between the Lexus of Herod and the Audi of Morgan. I think Herod's actually been able to get ahead of Morgan now, but it seems that we are clear of a safety car for now. So a good start from Split Yellow, I should say, and we are safe. So good first lap, and just a little bit of action further back, but nothing to cause a safety car.
Yes, everyone appears to have given each other plenty of racing room. A little bit of love tap towards the back of the pack, but the rest of the drivers were all very respectful of each other.
Yeah, a lot of respect given by most drivers. But Bakita out front will be looking to extend her lead as much as possible, as we see Connor Hind just behind. Oh, and there's a car off. Who is that off? That looks like the Lexus of Herod, who has gone off. So maybe a bit of contact, maybe just losing the rear end on going through turn 2, turn 3.
And we also had Marble go off at the back of the pack as well. I think he took himself out.
Now here is Kyle Jackson. Ooh, had a look at McLean. McLean's gone very, very deep, gone off the track. That will let Jackson through. Dilio is a bit too far back to take advantage of that at this stage, but Jackson has been able to move up into P16 ahead of Jesse McLean. Jesse will be looking to fight back as we take a look back at lap 1 action. This will be on with Simon Scanlon going through turn 3. Where is their contact made? Oh, it's just a bit of side-by-side with Herod. I don't think either driver was to blame there. It was just an unfortunate scene of events. And no true harm done.
Yes, I don't think there's too much work for the stewards there. It very much looks like a racing incident.
Out front, Bakita has set the fastest lap of this race, but Herbert is keeping her honest. Hamilton's just dropping back slightly, being put under a little bit of pressure from Hignett and Hobbs as we look back at Connor Hind, who is behind Glover in the Porsche. Let's take a look at this start. This is on with Mitch Hobbs, who started in P2. Let's see what happened on his start. He just does not get a great reaction at all. His reaction just is not great, and he loses 3 positions on the start. So not a good start there from Mitch Hobbs. Just maybe not quite paying full attention to the green flag.
think that was a missed gear. Looking at the telemetry there, it looked like he grabbed third gear off the line, and that could have just bogged the car down.
Ah, yes. That would do it too. Seems strange how it didn't realise it was in the wrong gear on the start, as Regan Herbert's now set fast lap and is only 2/10 behind Philippa Bakita. We might have a race on out front, but we still have an hour and 25 minutes to go. There is a long way in this race.
I've just had a quick look at the sector times, and Herbert really lost his time in sector 3. The sector times for sector 1 and sector 2 were almost spot on against Bequita. He's actually gained a little bit in sector 2, but sector 3 is at the moment his penalty.
Further back, Scanlon has picked up a stop-go 10 for an unsafe rejoin on lap 1 after his escapade. So clearly he's rejoined the track in a very unsafe manner. Of course, probably not the unsafest rejoin we've seen in OOR. That of course goes to the magnificent Dave McNulty for his interesting interpretation of rejoins of Paul Ricard many seasons ago now. Very much in folklore. Oh, but let's take a look. There's McLaren just going off slightly. Now let's see. Oh, just a little bit of contact. A little bit of contact there with Herod. But I really don't think there'll be a lot there, as Bakita fights back and sets the fastest lap now with a 33.3. Very quick.
As we have a quick look at Mitch Hobbs, which we're back to McNeil now, as we're running in 11th position.
Looks like Connor Hines been able to get ahead of Glover now. Hind up into P9, but now Glover under immense pressure from McNeil, Bracken and Taylor behind. So Glover has a bit to think about. That Porsche won't have a lot in the way of straight line speed, but it will be decent. It will have a little bit of pace around here, you'd expect.
The track is a little bit conserving. We do have a couple of straight lines on this track, but you need to get a definitely advantage coming out of the corner to gain any slipstream that would allow you to take the pass down the inside. Really the best passing on this would be the braking zones.
Yeah, certainly. Braking zones are your friend around here, but equally the braking zones can be your enemy, as McNeil has gained a lot of time, but yeah, it'd be desperate to make a move there, and yeah, he just runs a bit wide, so he'll have to try again in a lap or two's time.
I've just seen Scalen went wide and has taken the option to return to pits. Car 115.
Oh right, so he's chosen to return to pits somewhere along the line. Unfortunate there for Spidey. McNeil still hammering the back of Glover. I reckon going into this corner here at turn 4 is your best opportunity yet on this track. If you're able to get up the inside there, you should be able to get it through the next corners. It can be quite tricky to make moves around here, just given the way the track is designed.
Yes, and the way that everyone cuts the track here, you really have to be committed to making that pass. It's not a half chance opportunity. You're either in for it or you're out of it.
Yeah, you don't want any half opportunities around here, otherwise you are bound for a crash. Oh, as Hobbsy gets very loose. He manages to keep it going. Looked quite loose though. I wonder if he lost just a little bit of time in comparison to Hignett. It looked looks to be going still as Bakita sets another fastest lap, this time a 33 flat, if you don't mind. In race conditions, in an endurance race, Philippa Bakita just goes out and bangs in a 33 flat. Unbelievable pace.
Certainly going to make work for Herbert and Hamilton, currently running second and third, to try and find some pace to keep up with her.
Yeah, I reckon they'll be struggling, but they'll just have to use the open strategy that you have available to you tonight to your advantage. I don't think Bakita will be one to go with a risky strategy that could lose her time. Very smart when it comes to knowing which is the best strategy in each circumstance.
Yes, we'd expect Bakita to be all over their choice for here. She'll be weighing her odds up, and she'll probably follow if the guys behind her pitch. She may choose to overcut and run longer, or she can take the advantage if they nick into the pits early. She could also join them as well. She has full control of this race at this stage.
Meanwhile, Mitch Hobbs has gotten much closer to the back of Hicknett. I reckon Hicknett's made a mistake. He was before 9/10 off of Hamilton. Now he's 1.7 seconds back. So Hicknett's just starting to struggle a touch early on here, and Hobbs is ready to capitalize on any mistake the Mercedes driver makes. Meanwhile, I've got DeMarvel in chat saying he had to restart during qualifying. When he got in, the Fanatec saying reset brake pressure, so he wasn't able to brake. That is very unfortunate. And he also had no buttons working, so lots of issues there. That is really unfortunate for you there, Marvel. I hope you have much better luck next time out. Looking here at McNeil, who is over Govan. Wanted to have a go around the outside, and there's contact. Bracken behind just makes contact, but somehow McNeil saves it and doesn't lose any position. Or he might lose the position to Chris Taylor up the inside. It's going to be a tricky one to defend, and Taylor gets it done, but McNeil tries to switch back, but it's always going to be tough against the Honda. Still, could have been a lot worse for McNeil, but I reckon there'll be an invoice coming for Bracken. McNeil's trying for it up the inside here. He's forcing the issue, and he's got it back. What a move. Just stuck the nose up the inside and encouraged Taylor to take the run off slightly, and got the move done. So back up into P11 for McNeil.
That's the commitment it takes to take a pass through that sector of the track. It's all or nothing.
Indeed it is. Meanwhile, all of this has actually brought Josh Morgan back into the frame for P11, but these four now will have to set after Glover once more.
Always be a challenge when you're running in 3 or 4 in a train like this. You take advantage of each other and tow each other along, or if you get into the defensive line, it can actually slow you down if you spend too much time looking in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, if you decide to just bail that little bit too much, you can lose a lot of time in comparison to others around you. Now looking at Deft, who is ominously looming behind Talbot. Connor Hind here is having a good go at Scott Blair. Hind's got a bit of pace in this race. He might be looking at a nice position by the end of this.
I think he's jumped up 4 or 5 positions from where he started. He's certainly got that Ferrari dialed in at the moment.
He just runs wide there.
tyres won't mind putting those sausage strips like that. You certainly want not to be doing that too often.
There you go, Bracken has got a 15-second penalty for causing a collision on lap 8. That would be the contact with McNeil. As Hobbsy is still stuck behind Hignett. So Hignet's been able to hold on for now, and it's just been able to start closing the gap again to Liam Hamilton in front, who's having a great race in P3. For a Pro-Am driver, this is a great effort from Liam Hamilton. Of course, I don't think he's the pace of a pro. I think he is well and truly asserting himself as a pro force. But still, a very nice race from Liam Hamilton. Good consistency on show so far.
And the Mercedes has always got a track record around here of being quite useful running deep into the race on a set of tyres. So he could set himself up quite well here for a good deep run in.
We just had Connor Hines side by side with Scott Blair, but backed out of the move, did not feel confident enough continuing the side by side.
Looks like these two cars are equally matched at the moment around this track. There doesn't seem to be too much between the pace, and I think Connor's going to have to try and push the error here and push. If Blair runs wide or a little bit wide, he can take advantage, but at the moment is pretty well nose to tail without much advantage out of the corners.
You can tell that Blair's just not quite in tune with the car at the moment. Just trying to hold on as much as he can. Connor will want to get past as soon as possible and start closing in on Death and Talbot, because the gap between Death and Blair at the moment is already 4.8 seconds.
Blair's certainly making the back of this Ferrari as wide as he can. He's hitting his apexes. He's doing the perfect line around this track. That's making it very, very hard work for Glover. He's going to have to do all or nothing and commit if he can get the line through here.
Yeah, Hein just holding back a touch on Blair. Does not want to cause any contact. He's had a few instances this season where he's maybe just been a bit unlucky, so does not want to lose out on more crucial points.
Drop back there into Bracken, who caught that 15-second penalty for early contact in the race.
Yeah, Taylor's just been able to hold off Bracken and Morgan nicely. McNeil's been able to extend to about 3 seconds in front and about 1.5 behind Glover. As I say that, Taylor just makes a bit of an error and lets the two of them through. And P13 for Bracken and Morgan. We'll see if they have a bit of pace. As now Liam Hamilton's coming under pressure from both Hignett and Hobbs. So we've got a battle on now for P3. Things are going to start heating up very, very quickly in this race with 1 hour and 11 minutes to go. Oh, Hobbsy gets very loose again through there, but holds on to it. He does love his Honda, but it is a tricky, tricky car. And that wind will not be helping him either.
We've got fine conditions, 15 degrees and clear weather running through this. So we should have consistent track conditions now, so the guys should have all settled into their groove.
Yeah, conditions should stay relatively stable from here. A few battles going on around. I think Connor Hind's been able to get ahead of Scott Blair now, so Hind can finally start to push forward in this race. Does have a 6-second gap to reduce between himself and death. Take a look, this is where the move happened. Oh, Blair just running really deep and allowing Hind through, so a mistake from Blair, and Hind was there to capitalize.
That's all it takes on this track. You've got to continue to maintain the pressure, keep on the back, build up the rear vision mirror, and force them into an error.
Yeah, you just have to do everything you can to put pressure on the car in front, and that is exactly what Connor Hind did against Scott Blair.
He's certainly got the blinkers on and the eyes forward now. He's gaining on depth. Board with Hobbs now, and move on to Hignett. Looking at the back of the Mercedes.
The Mercedes of Liam Hamilton.
See the lights have come on around the track now. We start to move into dusk.
Everything's just settling nicely now. Meanwhile, out front, Philippa Bakita has a 5.6 second lead. She's been pretty much untouchable this race so far, apart from that start where Herbert had a bit of pace, but ever since then, Bakita has been very, very, very fast.
Looking very comfortable in the BMW this year.
Regan Herbert in P2 with a beautiful Vaporwave livery. Having a solid race, a solid showing so far. He'll be wanting to hold on to that P2 position.
He's currently holding a 4-second lead over Hamilton. And then Hamilton, Bigner and Hobbs all in the battle at the moment for third position.
Yeah, a very busy third place playoff right now between Hamilton, Hignett and Hobbs. To get further back, things do start to spread out a bit more. There's only a few other battles going on throughout the field, so they're just settling right now. Looks like the Hamilton Hignett Hobbs battle is your closest on track at the moment. Hold on to this battle here for P3.
Blair's had an issue by the looks of that.
Yeah, he's dropped all the way down to P22, so Scott Blair's had another problem, and it's unfortunate for him. He was up there in P9 doing quite nicely for himself, but unfortunately Ferrari does what Ferrari wants.
We've also got Glover and McNeil between 9th and 10th having a good battle at the moment as well.
He gets nice and deep on the brakes, tries and get as close as he can to Hignett. I reckon Hignett will be wanting to make a move, or gets a bit loose out of there. That might open the door for Hobbsy, who is gaining. Will we have a look up the inside? He's having a look, but he chooses not to dive it. There is still an hour in this race. You do not want to risk it.
Now's not a time you want to spend dragging your car back to the pits. Better to survive the battle now and be there in the final 15 minutes for the big push at the end.
Yes, that is certainly correct. It is a mini endurance after all, so you have to treat it like it is almost an actual endurance race.
It is not as easy done as it is said. Most of us as race car drivers, we do get the red eyes and we do make harsh decisions with still an hour to go in the race. So the pressure's on now for these guys as they're running in the trail of 3 cars.
Hamilton is holding strong though. He's continuing to defend his position well, just with outright speed as Hicknett makes a slight error. That's going to open up for Hobbsy. He just gets a bit loose, so Hobbsy will have to hold behind for now. But you can sense that Hignett's just not quite in his element.
Just looks like that the Honda's got the pace in all the wrong sections of the track at the moment. He needs to find the pace coming into the braking zone, not able to get down the inside.
I don't think pace into the braking zone is the problem, it's more just consistency on track, but Hignett's made a mistake, and that's now sent Hobbsy around the outside. You're going to be hard tasked to get a move done there, but you can try and get a switchback so you get a good run through here onto the straight. The straightest part of the track is where the straight line speed of the Honda can be used efficiently. The Mercedes is no slouch either. Can Hobbsy hold close? I don't think it's close enough. You really need to be side by side going through one of those corners. Can't make a move still, so Hignett, despite the minor errors, is holding nicely and firmly in P4.
And while these two battle it out, it looks like Hamilton has gained a little half a second gap on these two with a bit of free air now.
Yeah, can just focus on his own driving now for a few laps as the sun has pretty much set now. The lights taking full effect. Just a little bit of a it's like dusk in the horizon. You can see the gap. There's a few car lengths in that gap at the moment, but that is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and Hobbsy had to think about it. Couldn't execute, it's just too far back. Tell that Hobbsy has the faster pace. Will he try for a different strategy then to Hignett? Because you don't need to make a pit stop in this race, but it is highly recommended if you actually want to finish the race.
And the cars would have settled into race pace now, having burnt off the initial fuel. If they were all looking to run deep into the race, they would have started with a full tank of fuel. So we should now be in the prime conditions for these cars, and now the decision will be, do you take the early pit stop, go for an undercut, or do you push deep into the race, an overcut, or do you attempt to not stop at all?
It'll be a tough ask if you choose not to stop. We're about a third of the way into this race as Hugh Herod has a 5-second penalty for an infraction on lap 17. And we did see an infraction last week from Mitch Hobbs at Brands Hatch that ended up being lights being flashed, so I wonder if there's been a similar incident tonight, or possibly even just not having the headlights on at all.
Just looking at the way these two are battling, there's certainly no fuel saving going on between the cars. So they'll definitely be looking to take fuel on at some stage before the end of the race at least.
Here at Matthew Herod who's just picked up that 5-second penalty for the infraction. Still not sure exactly what for yet, but we can probably assume it could have to do with some form of flashing. Now looking at Sean Glover is dropped behind McNeil, so McNeil's been able to get a move on Glover and move up in the P9 overall. Still P3 within class, but has a bit of work to do if he wants to move ahead of Def into P2 in class. Evening Valiants, there has been no moisture in the forecast as of yet for qualifying or the race for Split Yellow, but it is, yes, quite windy, 12 kilometers an hour the wind right now. Glover just making his presence known to McNeil.
So the power of the Porsche under the brakes, but it's going to lack on those top speed coming down the straight now.
Bit quiet in this race so far as we have less than an hour to go. Not a lot going on, but once the pit stops start, we'll be very busy as we look on at Herod, who's right behind Jesse McLean. McLean holding P15 for all his might. Herod trying everything he can. In fact, he's just run wide, and Herod is now side by side, but just doesn't get the exit. So McLean holds strong for now, even with a little mistake, but look at how close Herod is. Oh, he's just running off track a touch here. As we have Crick in the pits down in P21.
Herod will take a few corners now to get the tyres back up after running wide enough out into the dirty part of the track. He should be coming now onto start finish line. He should have his tyres back up the pace a bit. He will have a good crack at it, I believe, now as we start the next lap.
Yeah, making his presence known. Just got to try and keep as much consistency as he can if he wants to make that move on the plane. McLean is really pushing. Herod gets loose. McLean gets similarly loose, only on the outside curve there this time. Yeah, Herod really wants this position.
Certainly pushing hard in that Lexus. You can see by the way the steering wheel is moving around. There is a lot of work going on that wheel at the moment to keep that car going forwards.
Yes, certainly. Not looking the most stable car out there, but it's looking decently pacey. Nikita now has a 9.266 second lead over Herbert. Unless anything drastic happens from here, she'll well and truly assert herself in P1, and Herbert equally so in P2 as there's 7.5 seconds back to Hamilton. But his position is not so secure, considering you have Hignett and Hobbs very, very close behind. Though Hamilton has been performing quite nicely in this race with good consistency.
And Hobbs must be starting to wonder what he has to do sitting on the back of this pack.
He will be starting to think about pit stop and what he can do with a pit stop to possibly move ahead if he can't do it on track.
35 minutes into this race, 55 minutes to go. Guys will be now, say if they choose to take their non-mandatory pit stop, because there is no option for a pit stop, they can start taking their pit stops now and successfully run home. But you will be looking to do the overcut in preference to the undercut on this track for tyre life will be my selection here.
It will be interesting to see how things play out, but we'll see. There will be no rain in this race based on the way that the forecast is looking. Or Hobbs just a bit wide there. He's possibly just starting to push those brakes a bit too hard on the tyre set. So he's left the gap now. Hignett. So Hignett has a bit of time now if he wants to try and attack Hamilton without risk of being overtaken by Hobbs behind.
Just joined us. These guys have been at it for the last 30 minutes. So since the start of the race, Hamilton, Hignett and Hobbs have been running back to back in a chain.
They've been running very, very, very close together. They have. Hobbs did start in P2, but may have just had the wrong gear coming off the line and bogged down exponentially to drop down into P5 behind Herbert, Hamilton and Hignett, but the top 5 has remained stable ever since the end of the first lap. Mini Simeon does make a good point. The current temperature is 14 degrees, both ambient and track, and that is still slowly going down, although I'm not sure how much it would go down from here given it is pretty set at night now. But it could become a factor.
So tyres we've only had a 1 degree temperature drop since the start of the race, so at this moment it shouldn't be affecting the old tyres, but it could be something the guys have to consider coming into their pit stops if they need to adjust their tyre pressures.
I reckon if there was to be any adjustment, it would only be very, very minor, as it started at about 15 degrees ambient and track at 9 PM local time. So I don't think there'll be too much in the way of change needed if there is a pit stop made by the drivers. Well, McNeil hasn't been able to break away so quickly from Glover, but Bracken is very, very, very close behind the Glover. Has a slight look, but chooses not to go for it.
Glover has made up the 2-second gap onto the back of McNeil to get this train together, and it looks like Bracken has been following Glover the way through as well.
Early mishap there for Bracken. He's settled nicely behind the pair of Glover and McNeil.
A little dirty with himself, having a 15-second penalty for early contact.
Yes, very much so. Just made a few errors in that third sector that has just dropped him off the back of those two. So he has a bit to gain now. Here is Kyle Jackson currently in P14. Never mind, this is looking at Liam Hamilton as they just lapped a driver, I believe that would probably be Mike Crick. It looks like a Ferrari. That would be Derek Nagel then, that they have just lapped. Either way, Hamilton is still holding strong in P3. The Lewis Hamilton doppelganger that is Liam Hamilton. Or should I say that Lewis Hamilton is the doppelganger of Liam Hamilton, given Liam's pace at the moment. Of course, anyone who follows the real life F1, the F1 testing in Bahrain will start tomorrow.
And Hobbs has taken the choice to go into the pits now to get out of this battle for fresh tyres and fuel.
Yep, that is a smart decision from Hobbs. He looked to be faster than Hicknett and Hamilton, so not a bad decision to get out of it now while he could.
That now cleans up the competition now for Hamilton and Hignett. They don't have to worry about the Honda being behind them. They can now get on with battling each other.
I don't think they'll battle each other too hard. These two are very good friends with each other and both driving the same endurance team. Of course, Car 600 is the superior MRT car, much better than Car 500.
Nudge, nudge.
Yes. I'm definitely not saying that because I'm a driver of the Car 600 as well. But these two are quite quick drivers, and the Mercedes seems to be pretty solid around here, as Glover has picked up a drive-through penalty, I assume for track limits. So we have a track limits penalty less than halfway through in this race. Look, Hignett has reacted to Hobbs coming into the pits. So we will see where Hignett comes out in relation to the Honda of Mitch Hobbs. Hobbs is coming to a nice bit of clean air there. 6.5 seconds to Dilio. Just going through this middle sector now.
There's also going to be a battle on between Talbot and Sasha Death. It looks like Sasha's caught up to the back of Talbot.
Hignett right up at the front of the pit boxes there. Clearly got into the server the quickest. But we will see. When will we start moving? That is crucial. Hobbs is just coming through sector 3 now. Let's see when Hignett starts moving. Still there. This could end up being very tight. Looks like Hignett is moving now, but it is a long stretch of road to the pit exit. Does spit you out though, right on turn 3. Hobbsy is just making his way through turn 1-2 now. I reckon. Oh, it's going to be very tight. Hobbsy's got it. Hobbsy has the position ahead of Hignett, so the undercut has worked wonders for Mitch Hobbs.
And there is the gamble that has paid off there. So 47 minutes to go now. Mitch Hobbs has the fresher tire, has the warmer tyres now after having pitted the lap earlier.
Yeah, so Hobbs will be able to extend a bit of a lead over Hignett, and you'd think that would help Hobbs at the very least get ahead of Hamilton, unless Hamilton chooses to stay out there as long as physically possible in that Mercedes. But I think you'll definitely see the Mercedes come into the pits because it is one of the cars that uses the most fuel. We are looking at Matthew Herod. We have Kyle Jackson into the pits. The car 2. So he'll drop a fair way down now.
So Sasha has now managed to get past Talbot and has gained a position on track.
Yep, that is nicely done from Sasha Death. Talbot 3.1 seconds back. I wonder if Talbot's just had a bit of an error.
Bracken and McNeil, the battle is still continues. There's only half a second between them, and they're closing up on the back of Mark Glover's moved into the pits. So that gives you free track now, we're adding space.
Glover serving his drive-through penalty
We are at the
now.
halfway mark, still a long way to go.
That was also in the pits.
Philip is still running consistently in the 33s and just pulled off 134 flat, and she now has a 13-second lead. Clearly out in position one.
Yep. As quick as ever is Phil Makita. I reckon given there is no mandatory pit stop for tyres in this race, if a few drivers, given we are at much cooler conditions of the night, meaning there will be a lot less tyre wear, whether a few drivers will risk just going for fuel over changing tyres, which in turn would actually reduce the amount of time spent in pit lane. We could have a few changes of order depending on what drivers choose to do.
And that will also weigh up on the time gained versus the potential time lost. We are now 43 minutes left in this race. If anyone is running deep, if there was 20 minutes to go, you would certainly not have much advantage over coming back out on old tyres. You would get run down quite quickly, I believe.
It all just depends on how long the drivers choose to go in this race, but also how much fuel drivers have chosen to put in their cars to start this race. A few drivers are hoping for rain. Looking at the current radar, 30 minutes time, it is still going to be clear as buggery. So any hope of rain, I think, is dashed at this rate. If we had a chance of rain, oh, Hignett just behind Dilio. Dilio just not quite getting the exit right. Hignett will have the inside. Dilio brakes very late though. Hignett can't make it, but Dilio just deep. Still holding strong though, defending well. Yeah, now just runs wide. Can Hignett get the exit? Yes, he can. So Hignett now up into P13, but has lost a bit of time there.
Yes, there's nearly 2 seconds now up into, or 2.5 seconds now up in Herod. And then Hobbs is a further 5.5 seconds up the road beyond that.
Hobbs is actually only 7/10 ahead of Herod at the moment.
Sorry, my bad.
No, that's all good. The user interface can be quite tricky to understand at the best of times. So had Perkins just make a slight error, and Taylor's been able to get through. So Taylor up in the P16 after pitting. We have Regan Herbert into the pits. Hamilton is still going out there. He's trying to extend his stint as much as humanly possible. Trying to avoid getting stuck in any traffic further down the field. Just wants to continue going around his pace as nicely as possible, as Sashadev is also into the pits. Mike Crick just right down the back of the field right now as Sasha Death is stationary, so too Regan Herbert. Connor Hind is continuing on, so he is currently in P3. Back here with Mitch Hobbs, who is trying to use as much of that clean air as humanly possible as Regan Herbert is on the move and comes out of the pit lane with a fair gap to Hobbs behind.
And Bakita is now in the pits.
Yep, Philippa Bakita into pit lane as Def comes out in P11. I don't think Bakita will be challenged too heavily here as Hamilton is also into the pits. He will likely come out very close to Benjamin Hignett. Hind is also into the pits, so most drivers now are starting to make their pit stop for the race. Hamilton is still stationary. He'll want to start moving very, very soon. She has now begun moving. So he won't come out ahead of Hobbsy. Hobbsy will clear him quite clearly. But I reckon he'll be very close with Hignett. See Hignett just in the background there. There is Hamilton coming out of the pits, and it is side by side, is it, between those two? Yes, it is. Hignett up the inside, and he gets the move done on Hamilton, so the undercut has only just worked out for Hignett, but once Hamilton gets those tyres up to temperature, he will be faster. You did see how tough it was to make moves before.
Still the big mover here was Hobbs with the undercut. He has a good margin now over the two Mercedes.
Yep, good call there from Hobbs to pit before all of them. Now got Glover just ahead of him, who still needs to make his pit stop, although he did have that drive-through penalty to serve. Hobbs is all over the back of Glover. And Glover comes into the pits. And no, Morgan has not pits yet, Mini Simeon. I believe Morgan is one of the last that needs to come into the pits. Bakita is right there. Should not take her too long. Has to take a very wide line. She's just compromised her exit. She's still got a 14-second buffer back to Regan Herbert, so no alarm bells are ringing just yet.
Probably just allowing the tyres and everything to come up to spec here, not pushing too hard, because as we can see there, pushing into the corner and the car in front of you could be your downfall, so ensuring that the overpass is clean and keeping her car in one piece.
Yep, that is cost her a fair bit of time, and Morgan is still out there, so Morgan putting up a nice fight at the moment. Of course,
With a 13-second gap over to Herbert, and there is time for her to burn at this stage.
plenty of time, so she does need to make a move quickly, but she will want to make a... Knowing Bakita, she'll want to make a move as soon as she possibly can. And look at that, around the outside with ease, with the overspeed off the corner, and easy done for Philippa Bakita on Josh Morgan.
There's the confidence after a couple of laps after the pit stop, get the tyres and everything back up to temperature, and able to successfully make the overpass.
Really nicely done as we look back at Derek Nagel, who is doing nicely in P17 at the moment. Does have Jesse McLean close behind though, 0.6 of a second the gap at the moment. So we have Paul Kranich into the pits. The number 20 BMW will fall down the order now. McLean is all over the back of Nagel. McLean up the inside into turn 1, and there's been contact. That was inevitable, and he's hit him again. That was inevitable. Oh, and he's trying again, but he's backed out of it this time on Johnston. But he's still made the move stick. But I feel there's an invoice coming for Jesse McLean. That was, yeah, maybe just a bit overconfident as Johnston makes a mighty save. A huge save there from Johnston in the McLaren. Jeremy Talbot, who is right up behind Dilio and the Aston Martin. So we'll want to make a move quick. Connor Hind will be gaining time, although 8.6 seconds. He dives up the inside, that's easy done. But Jeremy Talbot's up to P8.
And Dilio making the smart move there to give him space. No point in both of you pushing your cars off track.
That's it, you just gotta drive your own race, and that's what Dilio is doing. Meanwhile in chat we do have a poll ongoing. But just quickly, Jesse McLean has picked up 15 seconds for causing a collision on lap 35, so McLean does pick up an invoice for the collision he made on Derek Nagel. But in the chat we have a poll ongoing. Which of the new GT3 cars are you first going to try when released on ACC? Your options are the Ferrari 296, the Porsche 991 Evo 2, and the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. Personally, I am very much excited to give the Ferrari a go.
I'm going to have to go Lamborghini for that one.
That is fair enough. I think any answer is acceptable, except the Porsche. Sean Muller would not be happy with me saying that, but them's the breaks. As Kyle Jackson has a drive-through penalty for track limits, so Jackson will need to come into the pit, serve that drive-through. He'll drop down a few positions. That's unlucky for Kyle Jackson.
Was having a good run in the McLaren, but obviously pushing a little bit too hard to take up the track limits. And we can see Bequita's gap is now 7 seconds after she had that little bit of trouble getting past Morgan. She's now walked out and still holds the commanding lead over Herbert.
Yeah, with 30 minutes to go, there need to be something absolutely drastic happening to Bakita if she was to drop out of that P1 position. She's just commanded this race from the start today.
Green light, give it all you can.
And we are back live.
Yep, so we have Benjamin Hignett, who is just stuck behind a few lapped cars at the moment. That's 7 seconds back as we have a few drive-through penalties. So that is big. Oh, and there's an accident just in front of us. That is Johnston in the McLaren. There's an Aston Martin involved in that as well. So a bit of an accident going on there, but we do have some drive-through penalties. We have a drive-through for Regan Herbert and Chris Taylor, both for track limits. Herbert will be kicking himself right now.
And his commanding second position is now likely to put him back towards the end of the top 10.
Yes, he will drop a fair way back as this pit lane is quite long. So, unfortunate for Regan Herbert. He is trying to put a move on Josh Morgan now and has done on the exit there. So maybe he'll just use this as an opportunity to extend a bit. No, he's come in. So Regan Herbert into the pits to serve a drive-through penalty. He will be spitting bricks. So race control. Note to self, don't push that button. Yes, that is definitely a good piece of advice. But that does move Hobbs, Hignett, say Hamilton, and maybe Death up positions now. So Herbert will drop to around about P7. Yes, will drop to P7.
The question now is, can Morgan go without a pit stop?
Yeah, that is a big question now. Morgan is in a commanding position, but with 23 minutes to go, it's not going to be easy. If he does pull it off though, and somehow stays in the podium positions, undoubted driver of the day. Like, it's a strategy I wasn't sure would work, as Ashley Johnston picks up 15 seconds for collision that was just happening as we came back live.
So now we've got clear weather all the way through. The track temperature is 14, stable at 14 degrees. So the car should well and truly be in sync now. And no, Morgan is now taking his pit stop.
Yep, so it was a good effort while it lasted, but he does have to come into the pits. So Hobbs will move up to P2 and Hignett up into the podium places. But can Liam Hamilton, on those slightly fresher tyres, make any inroads on the Mercedes of Benjamin Hignett?
It's going to be a bit of an ask. There is a 4-second gap between the two Mercedes at the stage. As we now look upon Philippa Quida, who has a commanding lead now, and would have to be an absolute meltdown on her behalf for her not to win this race at this stage.
Yeah, she is been very quick. I don't even think a drive-through would impact her much in this race. Of course it would reduce the gap, but I think she'd still come out on top in this race. She's just been outstanding. Again, I'll call for it once more. Where's the ballast?
That would be a Bequita ballast.
Yes. She is insanely quick. It's why she has become very well known in the esports space within ACC, and has joined many a team because of it, including her current team of BS competition.
And we must also mention Team Australia last year taking out 4th position in the World Games.
Yes, in the FIA Motorsport game, she did end up finishing P4 in a star-studded field of esports drivers, including, I believe, Jake Baldwin in the UK.
Yes, there was a who's who of drivers in that competition.
Oh, Bakita! Oh, she somehow managed to save it. But even then, I don't think that will hurt her too much, but just showing us that she is in fact human. Just, yeah, a little bit too much on the inside there, but she saves it very well. It is so easy to lose it there, and if you do end up losing it there, it's so easy to get yourself disqualified too for cutting the track.
Yeah, there's a little bit of camber pushing you inside, and that section of the track you cannot take the grass and re-enter on the other side. That is an immediate disqualification in this track.
She's done well to save it, but that won't worry her too much now. She'll just continue on with her business, return to alien mode.
There doesn't appear to be too many other challenges going on around the track. Everyone's pretty well spaced out. A little bit of free air to finish this race off. Just under 20 minutes now before we hit the checkered flag.
Yeah, we've gone a long way in this race. Hasn't been the most exciting race from Split Yellow, but there's still been action throughout. I reckon towards these final 20 minutes though, you'll start to see drivers start to sweat a bit more on those track limits. You've already seen quite a few pick up drive-throughs for those track limits, but getting towards the end of this race now, it will be very, very interesting.
So currently carrying a couple of track limits will have to be extra careful. They do not want a penalised drive-through at this stage of the race. That would be diabolical to your top 10 finish for any of the guys that are actually competing at the moment at the top end of this table. Looks like Hignett must have had a small issue, because it looks like he may now be 8 seconds back behind Hobbs, and Hamilton a further 4 seconds back behind Hignett.
I think that just comes down to Hobbs' pace. Hobbs is a very, very quick driver when you give him some clean air. Yeah, those two will be on very similar age tyres. Hobbs only came in 1 lap before Hignett did. Herbert will be driving angry at the moment. He'll want to get ahead of Death into P5 to at least salvage something from this race.
We saw Hobbs driving behind Hignett and Hamilton. He was stuck at the back, and clearly he had the ultimate pace over the two Mercedes, and the undercut has proven that now with a clear advantage currently sitting in P2.
Race control just letting us know that Herbert is gaining 1 second a lap on Death. Not sure where that's a great sign for the longevity of Herbert's life, but at least in the context of this race, it is certainly welcoming for Herbert. Herbert is absolutely flying right now.
And he had second position stitched up before penalising with a drive-through for track cuts.
Death just got a bit loose there, running quite wide. That will lose them a fair bit of time. What is the gap? It was 2.7 seconds. It is now 1.8. That cost Death nearly a full second in that one sector, that one corner. But Herbert is on a charge. He wants that top 5.
So 135.2 for Death and a 133.8 for Herbert. And Herbert is also close to a second faster than Hamilton, who is currently in 4th.
and there is about 10 seconds between them. You never know. Herbert, if he can get past Death quickly, might still be on for P4. Wow. Fair old recovery from that drive-through penalty.
It doesn't look like this race is over yet. It's going to keep giving as we close down now. 15 minutes to go.
Been a very long race for these drivers. We have had a few that have had to drop out. We started with 25, dropped down to now 22 drivers out there. Mike Crick currently making up the rear of the field in P22. Props to him for seeing it out as Death runs very wide at the final corner. Now 1.1 seconds. Closing, and it's 9.4 to Hamilton in P4.
And to put this in perspective, Herbert is within 2/10 of Bequita's current lap times.
That's quick. We all know how fast Philippa Bequita is. Herbert being within 2/10 of those times, especially with considering the circumstances he's fallen under in this race, is quite a feat. He is driving with aggression, anger, and style right now, Regan Herbert, and he is putting on a show for this final 15. Look at how much he gained through there. There's so much time gained on Death. Gap is less than a second now. It's only a matter of time before Herbert makes his move. And the gap is 9 seconds to Hamilton, so it's going to be interesting, but I reckon come to the last lap, it will be a fight out for P4 between Liam Hamilton and Regan Herbert.
And Sasha's doing a great job here holding the line and making the back of her car as wide as possible.
Yeah, that's all Sasha can do at this stage. Regan is close. Not close enough for a move. Has to be patient. Cannot go for anything rash or else his chances are gone. Well, he's looking loose. The Audi is trying to do Audi things.
This is allowing Hamilton some clean air by holding Herbert up here.
Yeah, it's just giving Hamilton that extra chance. Yeah, Herbert is struggling. He's really fighting the car now. He needs to get past Death quickly. Overcome Death. Still just that little bit too far back at the moment is Regan Herbert. Will he try for a move into this hairpin? No, he's still too far back. Death is doing everything they can to defend. I mean, it's been a very good drive from Sasha Death either way.
And just looking at the lap times now, that is almost 6/10 slower now than the current lap time for Bequita. So this is costing Herbert big time.
Yeah. Gotta try and get a good exit out of here. Although he just runs that little bit too deep. And he just starts losing the rear end through there, so he's just struggling to hold on to that car in that dirty air. Just not really playing the right games for him. Right now, there is no escaping Death.
here. Being able to maintain line, not yield down to the pressure that Herbert's put on the back. Keeping a clean line, hitting the apexes.
That's really all you can do. You just have to be consistent. That is how you defend against these very, very, very quick drivers. It does help that it is a bit harder to overtake around here. But even then, you still have to be consistent, and Death has just made a slight error out of the final corner. Will Herbert have a go? No, he's still too far back. Just those little mistakes that Herbert's making throughout the lap, costing him big time. Yeah, he's still too far back. Death is holding on.
Looks like Death is now feeling the pressure of having Herbert behind, and the Aston Martin is looking a little looser than it was a few laps ago. Herbert's just going to have to try and squeeze a little bit extra out of that Audi if he's going to try and make the pass now.
Just been raging on for the past few laps, but Herbert has not been able to make any inroads on the past few. Maybe he just needs to hold back a little and go for one last assault, ready for this final lap. Well, final lap in about 8 minutes time, I should say, but he's gained quite a bit through the hairpin. He just has to be consistent, but he gets very loose through the corners. Just the Audi does not want to grip up for him right now.
Small window with the tyres on these cars. Around about 10 laps after your pit stops, they tend to get a little bit of slush on them, and it lasts for about 4 or 5 laps, and that could be where Herbert is right now. It could be in that little lull section that the tyres get.
Just be starting to struggle a touch on those tyres. He did have to push a fair bit. Of course, he was within about 2/10 of Bakita's lap times, chasing Death around. But now that he's gotten to the back of the Aston Martin, he's just not been able to push that Audi as much as he probably wants to in that dirty air. But this is really, really nice driving from Sasha Death. Continues to take that wide line.
There's nothing in the top line speed of these two cars. It's all going to be in the braking zone, or he's just going to have to wait for Sasha to make a mistake.
Yeah, he's almost just got to try and fill the mirrors where possible, because through the corners the Audi is just not dealing with it. Of course, Sasha has made a few mistakes, so it is every bit possible. But right now, Sasha is holding strong. This is really good driving.
Putting maximum pressure on, getting right deep down into its braking zones, putting right up under the wing of that Aston Martin. But that's just unsettling the front of the Audi, and is difficult to get back on the power and traction coming back out of the corners.
Just looking ahead, traffic might come into play with this. That is Mike Crick just up ahead there, ahead of these two, but Crick wisely gets out of the way. Nicely done. Meanwhile, Lee Perkins has picked up a drive-through penalty for track limits. So we have just under 6 minutes to go, and Herbert is pushing like mad. He does look a little bit closer on this occasion. Yeah, he's just that little bit closer. Might get a bit more of that slipstream effect, but he's still going to be pushing for a move, and he's gone up the inside. That is bold. There's a little bit of contact. Death holds on, but Herbert's still up the inside. They are really racing cleanly here, these two. Death up the inside of the second last corner, and Death holds on. What? Wow. That is brilliant racing, those two.
That could have gone pear-shaped, but congratulations to both drivers for holding their lines and keeping it together. That was absolutely stunning to watch.
It looked like it was going to go very, very poorly for at least one of those drivers, but somehow they held on, and Herbert is drifting his way through turn 3 now. Oh, things are getting spicy in this one. We have less than 5 minutes to go. Do not leave your seats. We are in for one hell of a finish here. Who will finish in the final top 5 position? Sasha Death, Regan Herbert. Oh, things have well and truly kicked off at the end of this one.
And Death has a little carrot. As you can see, Jackson's McLaren just up the road. It's something to focus on.
Wow. Just need to take a break after that one. But we still have a few laps to go in this one. Herbert just needs to hold steady. He needs to make his opportunity clear cut. The opportunity he had before was good. Oh, he's made a mistake and he's off. That is it. That is surely it. I don't think there's any hope now that he'll be able to claw back the time. With only a handful of laps to go, Sasha Death should hold on to overall P5.
An outstanding driver there for Sasha. Under all intense pressure put on by Herbert, managed to keep a cool head and maintained the track position.
Yeah, outstanding stuff. It looked like it was going to be easy for Herbert for a while. As we take a look, this is the side-by-side moment. Look at Herbert's commitment up the inside. You think, oh, the move's done, but no. You cannot push Death off so easily. There was just a touch of contact, and Death holding strong out the inside of the final corner. It was so close, and somehow both drivers made it through. And even more miraculously, Death somehow held position. What a battle. Now, there is another battle brewing. It is for the final top 10 position, and it is Josh Morgan on very, very fresh tyres, hunting down Bracken. We'll be going into the final lap of this race very, very soon. We'll have one more lap after this. But Morgan's time is limited. He has to make a move soon if he wants that P10.
Morgan showed us earlier how hard it was to pass around here if you maintain your lines and hit the apexes. Morgan's now going to have to try and find something in the Audi to try and get past the Porsche Bracken.
Yeah, both drivers just need to put in the lap of their lives right now. But Bakita will be starting the final lap of this mini enduro for Split Yellow. Now, after this race, do not go anywhere because we have Split Green running very, very, very shortly. They will be in their qualifying session right now, I would believe. So we'll join them partway through their qualifying, but the full race will be broadcast to you live for the Simrigs Sprint Series. But we still have this final lap now. Josh Morgan is pushing with everything he's got. Bracken similarly. Who takes this top 10? I think right now Bracken is the favourite, just with that consistency in the Porsche, but if Morgan gets a run, oh, just as I say that, Bracken runs a bit wide, but Morgan just a bit hesitant to go side by side.
And that was probably a wise move. There wasn't an overall large gap to slide down the inside, and the door was closing very, very quickly. It would have not been a pretty sight if he had tried to commit to that pass.
The Audi will have a bit of pace here on the straights though. Look at how much Morgan is gaining. Bracken is defending the inside. That's going to hurt his line through here. And he runs wide. Can Morgan dive up the inside? No, Bracken somehow manages to hold his line. But it will be last corner shenanigans. Meanwhile, out front, Philippa Makita has been faultless all day. And she is going to win the mini endurance here at Misano for Split Yellow. And Bracken holds on to P10 ahead of Morgan. Wow. Hobbsy will come home in P2 after a great race and a brilliant strategy in tow. Oh, we can breathe after that one. But here is Hobbsy now, crossing the line. Great race, Mitch. You have done fantastically. Of course, 29 seconds back, but still, P2 is a great result. Benjamin Hignett comes home to take P3 in the Mercedes. Nicely done. Oh, and Kyle Jackson's got another drive-through on this final lap. Oh, that is heartbreaking for Kyle Jackson. Liam Hamilton comes home in a brilliant P4 and a class win with Death. Brilliant drive in P5 to hold off against Regan Herbert and taking the P2 in class. Herbert is not happy with himself. Absolutely fuming. Talbot takes home P7 with Connor Hine about a bit behind in P8, and then Austin McNeil takes P9 with Bracken in P10, one lap down. Well, what a race that ended up being. It was quiet for the most part, but wow, that ending really made it worth it.
They certainly turned it on for the last 5 minutes of that race, that was for sure.
Green light.
Very much so. We'll take a look at some results for you. It was Philippa Makita with a barnstorming performance. 29.4 seconds. A grand slam with the pole position, fastest lap, and race win ahead of Mitch Hobbs and Benjamin Hignett, your top three. Liam Hamilton and Sasha Death rounding out your top five there. And also your P1 and P2 for Pro-Am with McNeil rounding out the top three for Pro-Am with Dilio, Nagel, and Crick, your AM class podium. Well, what a race for Split Yellow. And wow.
That was a fantastic way to finish what was an entertaining race to watch.
Highly entertaining. Now, there's not a lot of time to breathe though, because we will be very, very, very quickly into Split Green, who are currently in their qualifying session. We will just await the crossover into that. But yeah, any calls for driver of the day from your end, Tim?
I've got to certainly say Sasha Death in that last section there. That was an outstanding drive. The pressure that was coming on, managed to keep a clean head and keep it all together to come home in fifth. That was fantastic.
Yep, I 100% agree. Death had a really, really good race, and the way they held on Regan Herbert at the end there was stunning. So yeah, 100% our driver of the day for Split Yellow today was Sasha Death. But shout out to Philippa Makita. She's just way, way too quick out there. Like 29.4 seconds. That is ridiculous pace.
Fast of her own tonight, that's for sure. But that's why she's one of the fastest drivers in not only the Southern Hemisphere, but in the world, currently on ACC.
Yes, very much so. Now we are just waiting on our commentators for Split Green. but right now we have a Honda on top with what looks to be a 32.762. As we now welcome our commentators, Damiano Turcolini, and we have another debutant, and that is Neil Haynes. Welcome to the commentary booth.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Tim. Great call last race, very exciting. And welcome, Neil.
Yeah, thank you for the welcome, guys. Looking forward to the first time streaming with OOR.
We wish you all the best of luck, and we will let you carry on for the rest of this qualifying session for Split Green.
Thank you very much, Alexis. So, Simrigs Sprint Series at Misano for Split Green. Qualifying's just started. We've got 11 minutes remaining, and half the field has done their first flying laps. So just a quick rundown of the season so far. Once I bring it up properly. I've been having fat fingers all day, everybody.
It can happen to anyone, especially the humid weather.
Okay, so we have Ristofani, car number 22, Pro Class, leading on 250 points. John Sonicus, car 555. So remember, John is in 555, 224 points. Sean Jacobs, also Pro Class, 192 points, and car number 25. We have Pete Viney in Pro-Am at 102 points in car number 118. He's driving the BMW, I should call the cars now. Flatty Malik, car number 168, BMW, 74 points. Imran Zuali in the Ferrari, car number 12, 70 points. We have Lewis Cugley, still looking for his race classification modification. He's currently 9th in the championship on 108 points in AM class. Mohammed Zikri, car number 227 in the Bentley, good job there, 66 points. And Rafael Chua, returnee, car number 39 in the Ferrari, 54 points.
Yeah, there's a good mixture of cars right through the field as well, so it should be interesting to see which manufacturer comes on top, with Ristofani obviously in the BMW in P2 at the moment.
Yes, 2 minutes to go in qualifying. We have who's Ard?
He's currently 28th in the standings. Dafa Ardiansa in the Honda.
That's right. Dafa was his first race last week, and also looking not a certain pole, but he's half a second up at the moment for the gap, so he's looking good for his second race. Then we have Rafael Ristofani and Flatty Malik in 2 and 3, the teammates there.
So all the liveries are custom liveries as well, Damien?
Not everybody has a custom livery. Everyone can have a custom livery. Some people have chosen to go with the in-game livery. Some of the in-game liveries are very bespoke themselves, so sometimes for me it's actually hard to tell. So at the moment we've only got 21 cars per time. We got a field of 28 at the moment.
So Stefano's going to get onto his final lap if he's going to squeeze something out of here, currently in 8th. And he's 5th in the championship, so obviously you want to try and get a good position to start the race tonight. Lamborghini should be suited to the track here at Misano.
Yes, it does have a lot of low-down power and grunt. The start line should be a very interesting scenario for them. Okay, the clock's ticked over and the final laps are coming through. So as we can see, McKeans is just dropped a little bit of time there in the second last corner. It's coming through. Can he make it up? Excellent drive out the last turn, and he secures a slightly better time.
Top 10's always good, but we've still got obviously a few more to come through, so hopefully you'll hold on to that 10th.
The pace has certainly picked up because Malik, who was originally third, is dropped down to 6th, with his time still to come. He hasn't been able to keep the pace up. He's starting to slightly drop some time. Can he get the drive out the last corner? And it's looking like a no for no improvement there. Kai Ruden's crossed the line with also no change in time there, and qualifying is over.
So 9 PM start here. So we'll be a bit of light about still, Damien, and then I'd imagine it'll be getting dark in the first half an hour of this race.
I think it was about in the first hour. It was stayed pretty bright with a bit of twilight, and we have notification that Mike Crick will be joining us in the booth tonight. Welcome aboard, Mike.
Yeah, I'm here all the way from last place in the last race. How are we in the box?
Oh, quite cozy actually.
We're very good, Mike. Neil is a debutant tonight in the commentary booth.
So we'll obviously be looking forward to finding some how the track conditions was during your race, Mike, and we'll see how all these guys fare at the start of this race.
Yeah, well, I spent all of my race at the back, so I've got a good idea of the track conditions because that's all I could focus on at that point. I didn't have anyone to race against. But yeah, it's an interesting condition out there. Obviously, it's quite cool, which means everyone will be closing their brake ducts, trying to get the maximum performance out of that. A few interesting strategies will play out, obviously, just like we saw in the last race in terms of when people pit. I don't believe anybody doesn't pit because I don't think that's physically possible. But most people seem to pit around that mid margin. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys here in this split follow suit.
It's similar to the last race. The wind is at 11 kilometers an hour, temperature's 15 degrees, track is optimum. But unlike the last race, we have cloudy conditions for the next 30 minutes, with 1 minute to go for a rolling start time. Formation lap.
Yeah, so those few pre-race nerves will be starting to creep in with some of the guys, especially when these opening first few corners to negotiate here at Misano.
Yes, the first race, turns 1 and 2 went quite smoothly. Then after that, the next couple of turns got a little bit more rougher, a little bit of contact. Nothing major, just a little bumps in awkward braking zones and some cars flying off the circuit there. I'd just like to point out that P2 on the grid is our championship leader, and our number 2 in the championship, John Sonicus, is in P5 on the grid. And Sean Jacobs, number 3 on the grid, is our 3rd. And Ali Karuden, number 4, is 4th in the championship. So out of our top 5, we have the 4 top championship leaders, and our fast man, Daffa, leading the way. So the format for the race tonight, we have a 90-minute race and no mandatory pit stops. So pit stop window, is that starting from 0 minutes? There's no pit stop window limitations there. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, no limitations. So you can pit whenever you like or whenever you don't like. So it's free reign, which it does make it a bit interesting. Obviously, with the set timers, everyone's going to take tyres. I don't know if anyone can extend a set of tyres for an hour and a half here. If they do, they need to teach me some things because I did an hour-long stint. I did half an hour as my first stint and then an hour as my second. And at the end of that hour, the tyres were starting to squeal a bit. So I can't see anyone being able to push them, but we'll see if anyone decides not to change tyres, but I doubt we'll see that.
Yes, and with the cloudy weather, it'll make a slight change of difference in the beginning of the race as well. Maybe the tyre temperatures might be a bit lower with the less amount of sunlight coming through. interestingly, being cloudy, I'm interested to see if the temperature's going to drop as well.
Yeah, we could see a temperature drop. I think most of the drivers would be, considering what are the chances of rain. Obviously, starting in cloudy conditions, you're more likely to get rain following that, especially at night. So that's probably what the drivers will be keeping a close eye on. We managed to avoid any rain in the last race, but that's definitely going to open up a lot of strategies. And anybody who's taken sort of a bit of a more conservative strategy might do well if it does end up raining. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. It'll definitely make it interesting for us up here, for sure.
And in hindsight, what do you suggest? Early stop or a late stop?
Quite honestly, I'm not sure. I didn't have a particularly eventful race, so it was difficult to say. I definitely think the long 1 hour stint probably wasn't a good idea. I'd say most drivers are probably going to do 50-50, try and just split the race down the middle, because that way you're going to get good, life out of your tires, and you're not going to be too heavy on fuel for any of your stints. And I think ultimately that's going to be one of the better strategies here. But I don't know, it'll be interesting to see from this perspective.
Right. Do you want to call the start, Mike, or do you want me to do it? I'm happy for you to do it. I'm still not experienced enough to do it because they're forming up now, and there are some gaps.
Yeah, there's a couple of gaps there. All right, so we're going up for the start. So we got Daffer at the front, Ristofani in second. So the inside line's pretty crucial here, so it'll be interesting to see how they go as the green flags fly. Everybody gets away. A couple of 3 wides at the back there, but hopefully everybody sorts themselves out through turn 1. Everybody checking up nicely at the back there. I can't see any incidents. We're going through this nice swooping opening complex pretty cleanly. I haven't seen any yellow markers come up, so everybody's doing well so far. We've got Senecas going up on the inside there. Very good move coming through, moving up, keeping into 4th position now, and putting that pressure on nicely as they all come through there. So looking pretty clean. It looks like we had a car off at the back. Didn't quite catch who that was. And we have... Ooh, hold on. We have a car at the very end. Oh, that's our safety car, never mind. Coming around. Challenge here. Rashuti looking on the inside there. Malik, but not committing entirely to it. But a pretty clean lap here so far, even towards the rear of the pack. So we're looking nice.
The spinner at the back was number 21, Nafal Herma, in the McLaren.
So it was a car in the thing. Okay. Looks like it must have been on their own because nobody else seemed involved in that incident. And yeah, we're having a very clean first lap here. It looks cleaner than the last race. So well done to the split here. Always, as I say that, curse. We have a car off. That's McInnes. Yeah, I think that was the car who went off a little bit earlier as well. So not quite having the best time to start with, but everybody's still getting through here pretty well. We're following on here. We've got big Aston, big Porsche butts right in front of us here, following on. And okay, no, that's a very good first lap. I don't think you can do much better than that. Very few incidents and everybody getting through nice and cleanly. And we'll see if everybody starts to get a bit more aggressive. Whoop, as we do, there we go. We've got, oh, that's a big one there. A few cars involved there, but thankfully getting out of it okay.
So
a
the
bit of a cut.
commentator's curse there. Everyone was going all right until that little point. Oh, there's another
little bump.
Bump.
First lap was still good though. I still stand by my statement there.
Yes, it looks like AM leader there, Cugley, had a moment and got sideways on the circuit as it carves off sideways.
Looked like a BMW.
My apologies, race control. Yeah, it was a yellow BMW up the back there. I didn't catch the number.
That was number 29. I think it was a Porsche. Nick Miller. Is that correct? He's still rolling. He's in P22 at the moment.
Yep, that would make sense. Ristofani here still putting a challenge on for the lead. I think we'll see these two pretty stuck together for most of the race, but very speedy. Obviously, as you said, a bit of a championship at stake here for Ristofani. Not much change in those top few positions. Just Senecas there moving up to 4th with that good move on the opening lap. And everyone just sort of balancing out with Ristofani doing the fastest lap, 1:33.7. It's pretty good for just the second lap of the race, considering he's following someone. So, yeah, I think we're going to see some faster times as temperatures start to cool and things get a bit more serious.
Yes, from my previous practice, I found it was 4 laps until my tyres came up to temperature. But you were going to say something there, Neil?
That was exactly what I was going to ask Mike, actually, is how long did it actually take for the tyres to sort of equalise and get up to good racing temperatures and pressures?
It's about an extra lap. I only found it was about 3 laps, but obviously that's going to depend on your overall setup, how hard you're driving the car, what kind of traffic you're in and stuff as well. But yeah, it's a little bit longer than in sort of warmer conditions. The tyres do take a little bit longer to warm up, but I think if you get your pressures right, it's not too different to running at 20 degrees or 25 degrees.
Probably one of the most important corners, I would imagine, turn 10 to get onto the back straight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's where I lost all my time.
Bit of a gaggle of cars out the back. The mid-packers starting to bunch themselves up as the leaders are pulling away. Looks like we have 4 groups forming. Little twitch there. Oh, Viney's off. Oh no, into the wall. That's going to be a race debacle there. Unfortunately for Mr. Viney.
Yeah, it's going to be another pit stop for him. Very easy to get the rear end of the car loose there if you don't quite get the line and the braking mark right. So unfortunate turn of events there for Viney, but you can still recover from this. You can get in that pit stop now and run up some extra fuel and just race cleanly for the rest of the race. You can still recover, I think, that position.
He actually looked like the 2 cars popped like a lid of a Tic Tac container as well too, right?
So that's an excellent analogy.
Oh
dear.
Good.
Viney has no steering. He's got the meatball flag going.
And he's got the flashing lights on the brakes. Can he turn? Looks like he's going to have to teleport.
As we go back, we watch a replay here of that turn, lap 2 incident. So it looks like, just a little bit too hungry on the inside. The Hornet Aston Martin going a little bit wide, probably inviting too much, but hard to call that. That's up to the stewards to see who's at fault there. Could just be a racing incident, but hard to tell, hard to say from that angle.
Yeah, I didn't see much I just think it was cold tyres, early racing, and that blue Aston was our mate Coakley.
Yeah, shame for him leading the AM class at the time, but again, the good thing about an hour and a half is you can recover, you can sort of get back into it because you've got that extra time. There's going to be people getting drive-through penalties for track limits here, so there's plenty. As I say that, we've got a drive-through just pop up on car 296 there, Memento, who's hopefully just gotten that for track limits and not for a pit lane speeding, but we'll see if that sticks around.
No, I haven't seen him go into the pits yet, and the pace has been absolutely remarkable so far this race. It's literally like a 15-minute qualifying session as Daffa pulls off a fastest lap of 1 minute 33.3.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the colder conditions. They definitely help it up there. There we go, 15-second penalty for a collision on lap 1 to Nick Miller, number 29.
That was the Porsche driver that went left after turn 5.
Oh yes, nasty. That was unpleasant.
Fighting for position there. Don't know how you read that one. Going side by side. Didn't look like any malice in there.
Yeah, look, hard to call that sort of thing. You do have to be very cautious into that corner, making a... there we go, 67 to Cugley. He's getting a drive-through for that collision, so he has been determined the culprit there, and I think that's pretty fair. You know, he was being a little bit too opportunistic, perhaps.
And unfortunately for the cars behind in that turn 2 incident, there would have been a lot of unsighted stationary cars. Impossible to judge.
Yeah, there was a little bit of bank up after that incident, definitely.
Yeah, it's not a good corner to have a couple of cars come together. It's a very interesting complex, that one. It's very, the speed you're carrying through there, the camber of the track there, you really easily oversteer. You can really easily lose control of the car there. You're kind of very much on the limit if you're really going for those fast lap times. So yeah, hard to pull out of it there. So any accident there is not, it's bad news bears for everybody.
So for some of the viewers, when you mentioned about the Tic Tac car being teleported back to the pits, what's the sort of time that they need to stay stationary in the pit lane? Does the game give them when they do press the teleport button?
It tends to vary track to track, so I couldn't give you an exact number, but it's roughly an extra. You always lose a lap basically by doing it at minimum, and then obviously you can resume after that and take your pit stop. But yeah, you do lose the equivalent of, I think it costs you the equivalent of like a minute or two. I'm sure someone in chat probably has a better answer for you.
Yeah, I think it was something upwards of 3 minutes, including your repairs, right? Also depending on the repair.
Yeah, exactly.
We also had a new poll. Will it rain this race?
Oh, well, the clouds are looking like there could be something in there, especially when we were seeing at the start with the clouds over the hills here at Misano, but who will know?
Yeah, there's definitely the potential for it, and I think the viewers would be all for it because it always creates a bit of interest and a bit of chaos on track. Drivers, maybe not so much, but I don't know, some of these drivers will love the wet weather conditions. I like driving in the rain. I'm much better in Misano in the wet because then I don't have to worry about taking all the curbs.
Daffer's pulled out a 1 minute 33.240 for a fastest lap of the race so far, and which is over Ristofani's 1 minute 33.5, so he pulled out over 1.3 seconds that lap. Replay here.
Ooh.
Or slow down was the...
Yeah, it looks like he braked a little bit more than expected there, or yeah, he made a mistake, maybe he braked a bit earlier. It can be very hard to judge your braking markers as this, the sort of the sun starts to go down the track in this sort of mid-interim period where the track's not dark, but it's not bright anymore. Your braking markers can be a little bit harder to spot, and that's always the difference with night racing and what kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. I personally love night racing. I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy driving it in the dark, but there's a lot of people who don't.
It's definitely an extra challenge, and yeah, it does give a different element to the track. It sort of comes to life in a different way in the dark.
Definitely you have to be on top of your game, get those braking points right. And the hard part is finding some of the inside of the apexes are just completely unsighted. That's the challenge I found. But my favourite part of the night race is the transition from daytime to nighttime.
I always love the early morning sun, so it might be the other way, especially after you've been in the dark for a while and starting to see that glow start to happen.
Yeah, nothing beats that sunrise until it's right in your face. Then it's less pleasant.
Yes, definitely.
I remember Skyline at, was it 7 a.m., 8 a.m? Right in your face, cannot see. I drive it worse than normal. So
Yeah.
the leaders are pulling out. Daffer has pulled out a 2.7 gap on Ristofani. Ristofani in front of Sean Jacobs. That's a 2-second gap there. And another 1.5 seconds back, we have John Sonicus. And Kairudan is slipping further back with 11-second gap. So it looks like the top 4 drivers are going to be the ones in play for the win.
Yeah, Kairudan perhaps carrying a bit of fuel because Kairudan is definitely no slouch, and the Porsche is quite strong at Misano. So I wonder if he's carrying a bit of extra fuel there compared to his competitors, maybe going for a long first stint and hoping to go for a splash and dash at the end, and that's just slowing his pace down a little bit. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where everybody stacks up, and obviously, you have to take all the potential drive-throughs and track limits warnings and all that kind of stuff into account as well, because that can really, sort of change the order, because the guys at the front are going to be really pushing those track limits as far as they possibly can to try and get as much speed and lap time out of it as they possibly can.
And Flatty Malik is doing a good job first of the Pro-Am drivers, just following behind in the BMW that we're watching now.
As Nick Miller gets a penalty for another lap 1 collision.
Stewards have been working hard after the first few laps with those incidents.
I think they were fully prepped and ready to roll. And the Kairudan train, he's got quite a few people close in proximity to him. So if he makes any mistakes and they have a little Porsche slide or anything like that, he's going to be in trouble there.
pretty cool customer though, so I wouldn't expect him to crack under pressure. I think he'll be able to hold this defensive line pretty calmly from Malik. I think Malik's probably got to be a little bit more concerned about Rashudi coming up behind. As we go further back into the pack, back to 17th place with McKinsey, who's had a bit of a rough start. He was off track twice, I think, in the opening lap, so he didn't have the best start to it. But gaining up a bit of time, as we see, that was Weatherburn going for the overtake there. Another person who had a bit of a rough start, involved in that turn 2 incident that we saw before in the Hornet car. Looking to regain some time. I think he's a bit out of place there, being a pro driver down in 20th, stuck between a couple of AMs, actually a big line of AMs behind him. So I expect that Weatherburn's going to be pushing to regain some of that lost time here.
Yes, and with that, I've just noticed Miller has a 30 seconds against his name, so that he had 2 penalties for that one instance. Unfortunately, yeah, had a shot.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that when I saw that pop up, because I was like, I'm sure we called that penalty already, but yeah, obviously he's picked up another one, so he got involved in 2 incidents there.
Kyrune has just put his fastest lap of the race in, and only puts him 0.2 to 0.4 of a second behind positions 2, 3 and 4 pace-wise, but Daffa still pulling well out at 1 minute 33.3.
Meanwhile, this battle's continuing. Benny Piper's been under pressure all race, as it looks like Hasnam's going for the inside there. Actually, Piper almost as if he's pulled out. I'm not sure if he's braked a little bit late there. Yeah, I think he has. He's lost the rear end of that magnificent GTR, and unfortunately has dropped that position. I believe he's lost a couple of positions. I'm not sure. I believe he's in 10th before, so again, someone perhaps maybe taking a bit more fuel. The GTR is not a fantastic car here, I can say from experience. It's definitely not a top performer, but Benny Piper's a much more talented driver than I am, so I'm sure he can pull something good out of it. And it does handle very well on a full fuel load, and it's exceptionally good on tyres. And actually, the GTR could be a car that you could do quite an extensive race with a single set of tyres. So maybe that's something you consider.
And of course, it still sounds beautiful too, doesn't it?
Everything about it's magnificent. You will get no arguments from me there.
So will he be able to hold off Stimson for P12? And you were saying, Neil?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say with the AM driver of Stimson. Looks like he's just starting to find his groove in the AMG Mercedes there.
Yeah, looking up the inside there, the AMG very strong at Misano. It's a great car to drive around here. If anybody hasn't experienced the Mercedes at Misano, I definitely recommend giving it a go, because it's a really good car around here. It loves the curbs. You can get great exit speed out of it. It's a really good car here. So yeah, Benny's got his work cut out for him. And shout out to Simpson there, doing well, being not only our lead AM driver, but actually putting some good challenge here to one of the pro drivers. So good shout for him.
It's like Piper's overdriving the car. He's gone deep a couple of corners already, previous corner and this corner.
That's just how the GTR drives.
And Stimson in the championship for the AMs, he's P5 in the AM championship. As Richiuchi is pushing on Malik.
Yeah, as I expected, it was definitely Malik who was under a bit more pressure there than Kyruden really was. Kyruden pulling away now from Malik, and Malik potentially just going a little bit more defensive, seeing that he can't quite catch Kyruden, and just trying to hold off Rashudi here, who's definitely got a lot of pace, and he's putting quite a lot of pressure on going into this first complex of corners, coming up into the tight... I mean, do we call this a hairpin? I don't know what we call this corner. It's like a little square hairpin, whatever we call it. This bit, this section, and he goes for an overtake there as well. Well done there. Wow, that is an excellent move there from Rashudi, but he's taken it a bit too hot and he's gone wide. That'll be a track limit for him, but hopefully he can keep it clean for the rest of the race, and that won't cost him anything. But good move. Oh, it's all happening here for Rashudi. He's had a good run, but he went off track, and then he's obviously overcooked it into that braking zone, and Malik has just completely taken advantage. So good driving there from Malik to keep it cool, keep it calm, and not get himself too crossed up, because he's managed to maintain that position thanks to Rashudi probably getting a little bit hot under the collar there and maybe going a little bit too hard after the overtake.
Or would you think that Rashudi maybe just redressed that, thinking that maybe race control might have looked at that a little bit different with him running so wide?
I'm thinking that as well, Neil, because that looked like a very deliberate, calm move, because he wasn't. The car, I didn't see any attitude in the car that looked twitchy at all. And a good move too, to let him through and not lose an extra position.
He definitely came under pressure with the McLaren. Right, the number 24 car, which is still going to keep that pressure up, one would imagine. You really got to get the flow through these first opening 3 corners to get the most out of your lap time. And
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
this double, as you said, what is this corner? Is it a square hairpin? But yeah, you really need to make sure you don't get too wide and squeeze those rear brakes a little bit too much. But yeah, it's definitely a very tricky opening part of the lap.
Just pointing out that Benjamin Piper in the there's had a pit stop at his own exit pit lane there.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
So it's in the window for it's in the window for a 70-minute long last stint though.
But Mike did say that does look after its tyres, and it was a car that maybe be able to do that longer stint, and he might have thought of getting out of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. That GTR can absolutely do 70-minute stint without question. It's fantastic on its tyres, probably because it's got absolutely no aero or downforce, so the tyres are under no pressure at all, and that just does make it perform really well. So could be that there, or he could have just made a mistake in his initial setup. But we've got Rashudi here again on Malik, really pressuring. I think definitely Rashudi's got the pace, but just needs to calm himself down and set up the line nicely. So we see a 10-second penalty for jumping the start. Unfortunate penalty to get there, very easy penalty to get sometimes, but yeah, unfortunate when you get those little penalties. Very well, it's very good that we do those things so that people aren't getting an unfair advantage, but yeah, those ones tend to sting a bit, getting those penalties.
So one will be thinking, how did he jump the start? Is there no overtaking before they cross the start-finish line? Is that why he might have picked up that penalty?
It'll either be, I can't remember exactly what the penalty or Hot said. It'll either be because he's done some speeding, was he over the 80-kilometer limit, or he was out of position, which meant that he was either too far behind the car that he's meant to be beside, or too far in front of the car he's meant to be beside. So that's a jump start in OLR.
Yeah, normally it's consistent overspeed under the starting banner. With Pip Pipers, he's re-entered the field in P25 as Greg Kilby's having a bit of a train behind him there in P15. And Pete Viney, the BMW that went into the wall early on, has taken another penalty. As you see, Rich Uti really pushing Malik here. I wonder if Rich Uti's on the low fuel run.
The leaders haven't been really taken away too far from the field. There's not they're definitely still in contention if anyone slips up front.
Yeah, the gap back to 5th place is 21 seconds, so you can have a little off and get back on okay there. If you have a bigger off and take some damage, or end up facing the wrong way. As Rich Udi's having a big look under Malik here. Is he going to go for a move? I think he's a little bit too far behind, but it's taking it wide. A little bit of sparks there. Malik's taking a very nice line through here. BMW gets its power down. Rich Udi's used maximum drive they can get out of the car. And tricky double right-hander here to get onto the straight. Who's going to get the better drive out of it? Malik has a good line. Rich Udi's taking a little bit shorter, try and get a quicker drive out. He's looking close. He's getting a bit closer. There'll be a move here at the second fast turn.
You'd have to be a brave man trying to get it down the inside just in that corner.
Oh, he got a bit unbalanced there. Saw a double twitch. He's pushing very, very hard. His next possible move is inside in the last corner, but that would be a very brave move. It's a bit too far to do that.
Yeah, just good solid defense here from Malik. He's not really leaving him any particular opportunities. He's going to force Rashuti to take a bit of a dive, take a bit of a dare, as he looks like he's thinking about it at turn 1. Could just be a little bit of psychological mind game there from Rashuti, but I don't know, just from his driving, looks a little bit frustrated. Definitely, I think he knows he's got the pace on Malik, but he just can't find that opportunity because Malik's just doing such a good job of holding him. Ooh, he's going for the same move again, so he's definitely got the drive out of there, but it compromises his line. Will he have the speed to go into this corner? It looks like he does, but Malik's still got a bit of that inside look. No, he's just hasn't gotten the exit out of there, Malik, which has unfortunately cost him that position there. But good driving from Rashuti. He finally got past him, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Rashuti just sort of pull away a bit here if he can keep the car under control and maintain it.
But now he's got another Lamborghini of Ben Vintinia to out in the back of the BMW. He thought he got rid of one Lamborghini, but he's got another one now to contend with.
McGollins, the pro that had a bit of issues in the first lap, has pitted down in 20th place with 65 minutes to go. And I've noticed the cloud cover seems to have increased a little bit.
Yeah, we've definitely gone to full overcast conditions here in 30 minutes, which, yeah, it does invite some more potential for rain. The temperature, though, maintaining 15 degrees, so we're not seeing a big drop. The cars really come alive if it gets down to 13 degrees, so it'll be interesting if they do that, because then we'll start to see some rapid times here from some of the drivers. But yeah, that is also, part of why we're seeing such quick laps even during the race here. It's just those cooler temperatures. The cars just love it.
And as we can see, the headlights definitely take a full effect on the circuit now as it's getting darker. So the answer to your question, half an hour into the race, practically full dark.
Yeah, I think that the cloud cover has definitely added to the darkness. You can see how threatening those clouds are up in front. Definitely, we'll keep an eye on that. So we just don't know if there will be any precipitation before the end of this race.
Yeah, that cloud cover definitely contributing to it being darker. I remember from mine it wasn't quite this dark this early, so yeah, I think the just the overcast conditions are what's made it darker a little bit earlier. Probably about 10 minutes earlier it's reached that same level of darkness.
Yes, as we see Daffa pull out a 7-second lead over Stefani and 11 seconds over Jacobs, and Sonicus 13 seconds.
Yeah, dominating the race at the moment, which is very good to do here, especially when you've got sort of a no mandatory pit stop thing, because you want to have as much, time up your sleeve when you're in the lead, and start to catch what looks like back markers here as well. So that will make things a bit interesting, make things a bit spicy, and may make some of the slower pace guys start to consider doing their pit stop a bit earlier to avoid being these blue flags. To see if they can, avoid losing too much time due to having to let these very speedy boys go past.
Yeah, I was just seeing then when he was going through, it's a bit of a heart in the mouth moment when one of the back markers just sort of parked it nearly on the apex. He was trying to get out of the way, but the gap didn't close as quick as he thought it was.
And Cole Trickle is driving in the NASCAR Aston.
That's a good looking livery there, the mellow yellow. That's a nice looking one there, as the cameraman gives us a nice close up there. He's obviously a fan of that as well. Yeah, we can tell.
It looks that way, so nice livery for Sean.
Seneca's here doing very well, actually, in fourth place, holding on to the rear of this pack. Quite a consistent driver. Name the movie. Do we want chat to name that? I mean, I can name it, but we should let chat name that. What's the movie, chat? from the mellow yellow car. What's that inspired by? Surely you all know.
We'll give them a moment to do the IMDb lookout for that one. So the leaders' pace, they're all the top 4 cars within 0.4 seconds of each other, and with Kyrudin an extra 1 second further back. So I think Kyrudin is out of the race win unless he can pull something absolutely out of the bag, and just reinforcing it's a battle of the top 4 guys are all in it for the win. As we see some sparks come off Timor. That's one of the best things I love about the night racing. It's the sparks and the glowing exhausts.
Yeah, especially here at Misano, where it's you've got those low temperatures, the night time, and obviously everybody's running the cars really low for the most part. Even though there's so many curves, you still run a lot of downforce at this track because it's just so many short little corners and these sections that you need as much downforce as you can get, especially in something like the Mercedes.
Yes, and Peach in chat, Laser Thunder. I think you got it.
Well done.
Well done there, Peach.
Okay, so we're coming up to 1 hour left in the race. R. Stimson in the Mercedes, number 277, is leading the AM class. So far for me, he's one drive all day. He's doing a very good job. And that's 1 hour to go.
You've also got Ross and Moore as the pro-ams. They're slowly, I just think it's just a split there of Moore though, but I was going to say they're slowly catching Malik as well. So by the end of the race, we could have a 3-way battle with the pro-ams.
And Malik has dropped a little bit away from the Lamborghini of Ricciuti. He's at 1.5 seconds back, and he's holding Vitter quite easily. By the looks of it. And what I've noticed with Malik is that he's maintaining his speed very nicely. And the next car livery, the Celine Dion floor mat, safety metal walking gangway with shark teeth.
I mean, that's one way to describe it, sure.
I'm sure that was written on the remit. I need something like this, and there's the description.
There's some talented painters out there, isn't there?
There certainly are. And Mike Crick has been known to be one of the good ones. How many of the cars in this field so far have you... I had some move there. That was... Who's that?
That's Homer, I believe, getting assaulted by blue flags at the rear of the pack there, unfortunately, by the looks of it. Trying to let people through. Probably not the best place to try and do it, but Misano isn't one of the easiest tracks to let people through, but it's not one of the hardest either. There are a few opportunities. It's just sometimes you can get caught out in the wrong place, and often it's better to just keep your speed up, hold the line until you get to one of those better sections like the straight, because there are quite a few, but yeah, sometimes it's better to keep them behind, even though you're probably slowing them down a little bit and they might be a bit frustrated, but you got to try and find a position that's safe. It can be a tough call. It's an underrated skill, I think, being a good blade flag, because it's probably harder than most people give it credit for.
It's definitely an art to actually let someone through without letting them lose any time. The OR rules for blue flags is Formula 1 rules. The blue flagger must move out of the way of the faster car behind, but within 4 corners. So in a circle like Misano, not so bad. Probably 1 or 2 corners you can get through. Really the unwritten rule that I sort of go by, once they get within 0.8, I start looking for a place to let them through just myself.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you can put in your book of your racecraft as well. Naming as well, when you said that, you've got that delta, and it's always a good number to sort of look at that and knowing to make it easy on yourself, because as Mike said as well, the more that you sometimes hold them up unintentionally, you can actually cost yourself more time as well at the same time, and then get yourself in a pretty dicey situation to try and let those faster cars through.
So I remember the first time in my first couple of races, I was letting cars through. It's like two or three cars a lap. It was costing me 1.5 seconds a lap. So I was practically 5 seconds a lap slower by letting cars through. So it was killing me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes it's better to jump into the pits and, you know, get out of the way of the blue flag, try and find some open track. It can be a very good opportunity to do that if you've got the time and if you think you can get the most out of the tyres. Going back here, we got Velasquez. And an amazing, I love that livery. That's another good one we've got there. Designed himself, I believe. Very nice one. And yeah, he's being chased at the moment by Ross, who's chasing down P2 in the Pro-Ams at the moment, but P9, so he's in the top 10, so doing well. 2 McLarens. McLaren, not a bad car here if I'm not driving it. If someone else is driving it, it's a pretty good car here. Not one of the best, but it does perform quite solidly here with all its downforce.
Okay. Finton has just pitted. He's looking like he's trying to do an undercut on Malik. It's I noticed in the last race a couple of undercuts have worked out, so we'll have to see how this one pans out. And also there's a bit of a driver train behind Withers in P16 with the ANs behind him. As I thought he pitted, but there was Vincent is sliding down the list through his pit stop.
Yeah, so we're seeing a few people take that early pit stop, that sort of half-hour-ish mark. So obviously starting on lower fuel and going for a heavy late second stint, I suppose you call it. I don't know what you call it. So well, interesting. It's always interesting in these little mini enduros because it's just open season kind of for strategies. There's obviously only a couple of really optimal ones, but you know, especially with the potential, you know, maybe some rain or something like that. You know, some people will take slightly different strategies just to see where they can end up. You know, as we saw from Piper there, he's in 23rd at the moment, took a very early stop, so looking to do a very long last stint there as he's looks like he's getting lapped there by the top 10.
Yes, and the leaders have now lapping up to P19 now, which is Sikri in the Bentley.
So in the previous race we did actually see the leader lap the whole field, so I don't think it's going to happen this race, as we can see Restafini obviously still staying within 10 seconds of the leader.
I was just going to say, did Malik let Hasman slide past him? I saw a car on the left as he drove by, and Hasman's in front of a gaggle of cars. The teammates. And it looks like that as the positions have been swapped, looks like Hasman, I'm guessing, is on a shorter strategy and Malik's on a longer strategy.
Yeah, a bit of team strategy going on there. Interesting.
Well, drive through for Kilby. That'll be track limits. By looks of it, I didn't see the pit marker come up. So that's our third drive through of the day, I believe.
Yeah, we're going to see a few more of those probably. It will bite a few people. It's just one of those tracks where you really have to push the limits of the track limits to get the most time out of it, as I said a bit earlier. And yeah, you're going to see a few people getting those drive-throughs, which is unfortunate. But it is such a short track. Like, again, you know, we're already starting to see people lapping the field after only half an hour. You know, it's such a short track that really mixes the field up pretty quickly, so it's not hard to get that time back after a drive-through, but it is one of the longest pit lanes as we see Kilby coming in to serve their drive-through here, and you just see that it's not the shortest one, it's not Spa, but it's up there. It could be the next slowest pit lane after Spa. Someone in chat can confirm that for me, I'm sure. But it's quite a long transit time when you do drive through.
Yeah, especially when the exit here actually comes and merges out of turn 3 as well. So it's a long hold.
Yeah, and it looked like he was really attacking that line as well. It looked like it was only about 1 meter before the line before he hit the limiter. Nice attacking. I love attacking that pit line.
Going back to our leader, who's just absolutely sending it across the whole track, putting in really solid lap times, quick lap times, average is very high, and just absolutely dominating the race at the moment, building up a nice, strong lead here from second place. Not quite long enough that they can relax, but Ristofani falling behind there, 12 seconds now, and still 5 seconds though to Jacobs. So both first and second sitting in a nice, pretty comfortable pocket. Jacobs under a bit of pressure from Snickers. They were in fourth, only just about 2 seconds behind, but still that top four are very much sitting in good positions, and I think the first one of them that gets a drive-through is going to be the one that sort of decides what shakes up there in that top four, I'd say.
Yes, don't use those speed tokens unless you need to.
I think you were saying too, Damien, that Daffa as well, the leader of the race, did he miss the first round at Paul Ricard?
He did. I think he came on board for the second round, which escapes me.
Brands
Hatch it was last week, I think.
Oh yeah, that was a forgettable race. Yeah, Brands. I had a hard time there. I couldn't get the car to work for me, so I was all over the place. I just basically did my best to bring the car home, and I did that.
Back to our mellow yellow here, approaching the back markers. Nice little blue flag let through there. It's making a nice, easy job of it at the moment, but Senecas is definitely going to be putting the pressure on, and Senecas is a reasonably cool customer, so he's going to not really reduce that gap too much. Not going to let him off easy, that's for sure, and that gap has stayed pretty consistent, so... Oh, as we have a car parked. Oh, and that's Homer again, not having a good race, as I sympathise. Similar to mine.
There, that's very slightly down the pit lane.
That'll be a bit of oversteer out of that final corner in the McLaren. If you don't quite get it right, that the oversteer can bite very hard there, especially if you get up on the outside curbs, and it can spin you very easily. McLaren does not enjoy curbs, and this track has a lot of them.
Yeah, he must hit the wall pretty hard because it looks like he's teleported to the pits.
Oh, there we go. We've got confirmation from Valiance in chat. So the drive-through Spa, Indy, Imola are the longest. So Imola is longer. Okay, that makes sense. And then Misano the near. Okay, so not quite second place, but yeah, it's the next group of longest ones there. But there you go, Spa, Indianapolis, which I forgot about because it's so new. And Imola. Yes, yeah, Imola is another one that's quite long and punishing.
I didn't think it was going to end. I was waiting for the circuit to start when I first went out of the pits. I thought, do I take the pit limiter off now? And I got done for speeding. It teleported me back to my box and to start again.
It's amazing. The top four are still in the 1 minute 34s as well. So outstanding job, which we're almost reaching halfway of this race, and to still be going at that pace, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the only reason they're dropping off a little bit now is because the tyres will be starting to wear a little bit, and they'll be getting ready to jump in and do some pit stops after driving pretty hard for the last few minutes. Last half hour or so, or more. Yeah. But it's interesting now what we're watching, because now we've got Hasnam pressuring Rashudi, which is an interesting thing, and I wonder if that is the team strategy. If Hasnam's gone, look, I've got the extra pace, I think I can catch Rashudi, and it definitely looks like he does have the pace of Rashudi here. As he goes up the inside there, takes that nice tight line, he'll get a good exit, both cars will get a good exit, but Rashudi's going to have the next corner inside line, so if he can hold on to it, get a good, oh, very close there, nice, good racing though from the two of them. A little bit of a touch, a little bit of a bump going into the main straight. I think, yeah, Hasnam probably just lost a little bit of the exit speed compared to Rashudi there, but that was a good attempt at an overtake there. Just didn't quite come together, but definitely under pressure now. Rashudi, is he going to go for an overtake here? He is. He's looking up the inside. Rashudi gets a little spooked. Oh, he's keeping it going. It's a great battle. Fantastic move there. That was an overtake that took, what, 6 corners? But he did finally get that done. Very good, and very good from both drivers too. Rashudi put on a good defense there. Just couldn't quite defend that inside line. But yeah, wow, really good racing from those two there. And it looks like Hasnam's got the upper hand. But again, Rashudi's no slouch, but we'll see if he can hold on to it as he gets a little crossed up there. Maybe his tyre's a little bit worse for wear. You know, that's something that the Lamborghini's going to suffer from a bit more than the BMW. The BMW is a really good car over the distance, nice on its tyres, much like the GTR is. And yeah, I think that might be playing in there a bit, but yeah, wow, solid racing.
Yeah, it's a very good move there. Half a lap to get that one to finish by the looks of it. I was watching in the background when you were calling that, Mike. Unfortunately, Pip had a bit of a spin in a similar area, so our guide watching him go through the field after his early stop is going to be a bit moved by that. And also, Hasman, before the move on Riccioli, he was pulling away from Malik over a second a lap.
Yeah, again, you wonder if Malik's on just that slightly different strategy, maybe a bit heavier with that fuel, because Velasquez is right on his tail now, and yeah, maybe either that or it doesn't look like he's picked up any damage or anything. Oh, no, Velasquez is gone. Oh, he's just missed there. Wow, that was too close. Thankfully, nothing came from that, but yeah, not a good moment there from Velasquez. We get a replay. You see what happens here.
Oh, the bump.
Yep, just that little bump. He's crossed it up there. He's held his brakes. He's done the best he could. Thankfully, nobody got collected there. But yeah, just a little bit of sadness there, unfortunately, for Velasquez, who's on a gamepad, by the way. So, I mean, recovering that's a good effort.
Well, yes, he kept his livery nice and clean too. So that was we were
the most important thing. The most.
That's it.
John Sonicus coming through the pit exit now on his first of the leaders to come through. So where's that going to put him out at? And who behind?
Yeah, that'll be the big thing here is where he comes out. Because yeah, it's like as we were saying before, we're going to look slow motion of this. God, yeah, he's just missed the rear there. There's not a lot of... Wow, that's even closer than it looked from the other angle. Yeah, wow.
What about the view from the car behind, watching the car go across?
Yeah, there's some new pants there.
Definitely, there is.
Yes, there'll be Scani pants, those ones.
Definitely need the laundry.
And it's P2 and P3 pitted, which was Ristofani and Jacobs. And it's a pretty impressive pace by Dafa. Yeah, he's the last of the leaders to pit, and he had the most pace. So if he ever joins our Pro Series, he'll definitely be a driver to watch.
Keeping an eye on the weather. It doesn't look like rain is very likely. There's still the potential for it at the very end of the race, but it really doesn't look like we're going to see much moisture, which is a shame because 54% of the people in chat voted that there would be rain, and unfortunately that's not the case. We go back to Senecas here in 14th, driving past the pit lane. Probably going to gain a few more of those positions back here as we wait for the amazingly fast ACC leaderboard to update, and we can get an idea of their final position. So we see our mellow yellow friend coming out of the pit lane too.
Yeah, pit lane's getting fairly busy at this stage, right at the halfway point, just past the halfway point.
Has John made a position there?
Arnold Jacobs was behind, but he's gained some time. Or has he? No, you're correct. You're correct. That is an undercut. Sorry, I was just looking at my sheet. And yeah, that was an undercut. So well done there from Senecas. Beautiful job there to undercut. A hard thing to do, actually, at this particular track.
And pulled out 2 seconds while doing it.
Yes, he's put out a stellar lap there on his outlap. Well done to Senecas there. Apologies for completely missing that. I had those two. I was looking at my my timetable wrong.
There's a lot of position changes now, and with the it's very interesting. They're having leaders pit on opposite laps as Duffy still continues out front without stopping.
Yes, you have to wonder there if that was just the the speed, the pit stop itself. Maybe the entry to pit stop for John was just that much better. And I don't think there was any damage there for Jacobs, so I doubt that would have come into it. But perhaps just too conservative on his pit entry, and that's cost him, that position there. And it really can come down to that on this track.
I wasn't watching the circuit map. It could also be a blue flag. He would have needed to have gone past as well.
Yeah,
and John's also got out into some fresh air, which is great.
So the leader's in the pits now.
Yep, that's it. Taffer's gone into the pits. I don't think we're going to see any change in position there unless there's something goes terribly wrong in his pit stop. I think he's got enough of a gap to hold on to that lead pretty convincingly.
You'd think the only thing that you could fumble is the starter button.
It's always a possibility.
The number of times I've panicked in a pit stop, turn the car off, turn the limiter on, stop the car, turn the car on again, turn the limiter off, speed, stop the car, get into the pit box. Then I get to start my pit box. Ugh, sometimes it's shocking. But luckily, it did not impact any teammates. I was in a sprint race.
Yeah, look, especially when you're in a good position, you can get a little overwhelmed and stressed out there. But I don't know. I can't see anyone even in this top 10 who I can see making that mistake.
Still waiting for a few people to sort out their pit stops. What I remember in the last race is around about lap 45 to time 45 down to 40 is when most of the pit stops kicked in, and then people were doing it for about 60 minutes, which is the 10 minutes time. As the weather seems to have cleared up a little bit, which I just noticed, which I think you were alluding to before, Mike.
Yeah, and I think roughly the halfway point for an hour and a half at Misano is probably the optimal time. And I think we've seen that in both races with both the leading backs basically doing the same kind of strategy. And I think, for any of the guys racing tomorrow, that's seems to be the best strategy. John got a little bit wide there, but he's recovered it.
He was holding on like he was on a rodeo for an 8-second ride there for a second.
It's the Aston, it can handle it.
He's going to be pushing hard to the end.
So it's also dropped a degree with the clearer skies coming in, so the temperature's slowly coming out of the track. So may see some fast times after they put some fresh tyres on from the pit stop.
And the wind's picked up at 1 kilometre an hour, just like at the last race. Did you notice the wind at all, Mike?
It was roughly about the same. Not a big influence, honestly, on track, the wind here at Misano, unless it's, absolutely blowing a gale. Yeah, the wind speed doesn't have too much impact on the cars here. GT3 cars aren't particularly perceptible to it.
Good to know, because I think it was a tailwind wind down the straight, but a side wind or crosswind through some of the faster corners in the other parts of the circuit. But it's not like a Formula 1 car where you get a little gust of wind and your car moves, 2 car widths sideways. Oh, yellow car again. Oh, its Piper's in the again. It's gone off.
Sad.
Not having a good time of it with the Nissan, but Karuden's still leading the race in the Porsche, taking the opportunity to get some laps out in front before he has to serve his mandatory stop. Oh, well, there's no mandatory stop, but he will need to stop. He won't get to the end without the fuel.
I was reading in chat, someone was saying they needed to 17% less fuel per lap to get it on 1 tank.
Yeah, it is possible to run without taking the stop. You can run a full tank here if you have the right fuel map selected. I'm not sure what that would be in the Porsche. Not experienced with the car, but it is possible in most of the cars, and I don't think the Porsche is an exception to that rule. It's definitely something it could do. And look, it could be a big brain move here if you've done your practice and you've found that you're not losing that speed. I mean, hey, it's worth a shot.
And here's my favourite angle of the Porsche at night: the glowing exhaust. I love it. Looks like a pair of eyes. And as chat said, Peach, Bathurst last season, Ali didn't stop. he did a 0-stop race.
There we go. We might be seeing that, yeah, that same strategy play out. But how much pace is he going to lose? I mean, we saw him quite a fair way back from the leaders in that opening stint. You got to imagine Daffer's going to be able to make up that difference in these closing 40 minutes. But it's definitely going to make it interesting if that is the strategy he's going with.
So Kai Ruden's doing a 35.4 at the moment, which was 2 seconds a lap slower now than what the best pace odds was from Daffer. And Daffer's doing a 33.7 right now, so he should be able to make contact in 10 minutes. No, 10 laps. Passing cars in the middle, of course, if he gets past. Hasnam is 1 minute 35 flat. Velasquez, sorry mate, I'm going to practice your name a bit more. 1 minute 35.7 last lap. Daffer is a 1 minute 33.7, and Ristofani was doing a 33.6, so a bit faster than Daffer. So P4 and P5 still got some cracking pace on. So it's going to be very interesting as those two catch up to P1, 2 and 3, who looks like they're stretching their legs.
And Weatherboy going for a move there. That's for position, I believe. Yes, it was on Hall. Yeah, so good move there, right down the inside. Bit of a dangerous one. Pulled it off.
The AMM Zikri, and with the engine glow for a bit of dirt. Nice. Oh, a bit of exhaust flare there. Nice. Oh, he does it again. Oh, it's like fireworks. I love fireworks. Zikri, Yam, in the Bentley, P8 at the moment. Doesn't look like he stopped, going for a long run. Very good position, P8 there.
Yeah, taking full advantage of how good the Bentley is at this track. The Bentley's not a strong performer at many tracks anymore, unfortunately, thanks to the BOP, but it's definitely good at Misano still.
I like the engine pop exhaust from the Mercedes just there. That was really... I like it. I like watching that. It's very entertaining for me.
But yeah, we've got a few guys here up the top just holding out. Daffer has overtaken Velasquez though, and he's now about 7 seconds behind Hasnam, who's also yet to pit. Can't see Hasnam holding on to that position, but Kai Ruden's, I guess, the real, what's Kai Ruden going to do? Is he going to hold it out and go for a full defensive play here? I think Daffer's really got to push to catch as quickly as he possibly can and not let Kai Ruden get too far in front, because if he is running that really long no-stop strategy, it could play well for him. It's definitely made it interesting.
Greg Kilby, he was running P3 and AM, has made his pit stop. Which leaves S Hall, Scott Hall in the other BMW, who is currently running P2 AM, and Zikri as well. So Zikri's doing a very good race here at the moment.
Yeah, good call there from Peach in chat, saying, yeah, Ali's likely to be doing about 37s by the end if he is running that particular strategy. And yeah, made a good point a bit earlier too, where Misano was very hard on tyres. So that will probably be a big factor for Kai Ruden. But he's a quick driver and he's a very cool customer, Kai Ruden. So I don't know, I'm just curious to see how this turns out.
Would it be enough pace for him to at least get a top 5 if he doesn't pit? So it could be paid off. I'm not too sure where he was when before the leaders pitted, where he was running. If he was in the top 5 or a bit further down than that.
Yeah, he was at 5th position before.
Okay.
So we get a look at Zikri here. We go fast lap for Daffer, 133 flat, almost close enough to a 133 flat. That is a quick lap, so yeah, not holding back. As we get another close up of the amazing noise of the Bentley. We don't hear it often enough, so yeah, good to give it a bit of a feature and a showcase here tonight at one of its best tracks, and being very well driven by Zikri here, holding on to that P8 position quite nicely.
Oh. You see it pop out. There's like, you pull beside someone, get down change, you're going to burn their paintwork.
Yeah, it's good to see the Bentley actually performing well at a circuit like this. As you said, the BOP hasn't had it as competitive what it has been in the past.
I mean, look at that. It just went off road. Didn't care. Hasn't lost any speed. It's fine.
Then bounced into nothing. I was watching a roof line. Didn't move.
Yeah. It's one of the best cars, and it's just a shame you don't get to see it anymore.
And following on from my exhaust glow, I've noticed on the BMW there was no left exhaust glow, just on the right.
Oh, again, look at that. Just munching the curbs there. Zikri just doesn't care. Just ignores them.
That was such a... Any other car would be upside down.
If that was a Ferrari, he'd be over the fence.
If it was a McLaren, would it be on the circuit at all?
No, the McLaren would just lose the entire front end if he did that to it.
Police Academy style. I love it. So, what close gap? So we got Ali Karuden doing a 35.8, Hasnam a 35.0, Dafa doing a 1 minute 35.5, and Velaqua, 35.5 as well. And John Sonicus, Ristofani a 34 flat, and John doing a 34.5. So it's going to be a very exciting finish. If Kairun and Hasman don't make a pit stop at the last half hour, it's going to be a very, very exciting finish.
Yeah, Kairuden cutting through the traffic pretty well here. We do have to take that into account as well when we're looking at these times and what they're averaging at the moment, because there's going to be just traffic everywhere by this point in the race. Everybody's jumbled up with different strategies and all that kind of thing. So that's something you do have to consider. I really want to see those tyres at the end of the race, though, if he is going to go, even to have gone this long on a single set of tyres in the Porsche, those tyres will be nice and toasty.
Well, it's just on the hour mark that he's been running. It's just ticked over with the last half an hour of this race, so the tyres will definitely be nice and used by now.
His pace is okay considering how long he's trying to run it. I'm still going with the feeling that he's going to the end.
I think he is, because he's been managing the 35s, hasn't he? I think at the moment, Damien, from everything I've been watching.
And Thomas McGinn's off again, unfortunately, P20 in the McLaren, as he was entering the straight.
Bit of a battle here down further in the order. We got more on hole. Big Mercedes challenging the back of the fat BMW ahead of it. Ooh, going up the inside there. Really following closely here.
So for the next two right-hand turns, he's gone a little wide, then he's gone underneath. Looks like he's got the move on him, but we'll see if Hall's got the move on the right to keep him in place.
Yeah, that inside line's a big advantage out of that corner. Mercedes has definitely got a bit more power on the exit, as we see. Yep, just he got that line perfect and kind of lulled him into a false sense of security there, I think, by letting him have that inside line and going for a slightly faster exit speed, which has enabled him to overtake on that long straight.
And the blue flagger letting him through, so they can have a nice, good, even, clean race.
Yeah, definitely a nice move by Moore. He's set that one up.
Comments from Page in the chat, if his tyres go to 2.0 wear after the game saying 1.5, whereas when they're used, the base will just fall off the cliff.
Be interesting if Asnam is also running the same strategy, because he's also yet to pit and was a bit slower at the start. Oh, there we go. Kairuden's in the pit. There we go. That strategy is obviously not it. We've been talking about it, but yeah, clearly he doesn't have the confidence in those tyres or in the car lasting that long. So we are going to see Kairuden drop down And unfortunately, he's dropping quite a few positions there. Is it just, I believe, Hasnam who hasn't pitted yet,
That's right.
and Velasquez.
That's also right.
I think the Bentley, is that pitted? Of Zachary?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had not pitted.
Well, the Bentley's another car that could do it. I mean, that Bentley's got a massive fuel tank, even after they nerfed it a little bit.
Was it? I heard rumors there was a swimming pool. Is that true?
It's not far off. It's a big tank in the boat.
It's the TARDIS of fuel tanks.
Yeah.
The Daffer's looking for this move to take the lead.
Yeah, all over the back of Hasnam here. There's no way I can see. I mean, you got to imagine Hasnam's not going to want to defend this too much. I mean, he's not going to let him by easy, but unless he's planning a no stopper, he's probably not going to defend this too heavily because the tyres in that BMW won't be in the best condition. But as I said earlier, BMW is very nice to its tyres. It's a fantastic choice of car for longer events and endurance races, and it does really well because of that. So, I mean, he could be going a no stopper. It'd be interesting if he is.
It's going to be another moment there of hard charging, fast car on clean hard tyres. He's taken a dive underneath at the corner. He's gone straight through like a knife through butter, straight past Hasman. And he's going to be stretching his legs out, getting down the back straight.
Yeah, regaining the lead there pretty easily, and I think providing nothing goes terribly wrong for him, I think that'll be it. I think he's got probably another 18 laps or so to go, and he'll be done.
Yeah. The time back to P3 is 12 seconds, so I'm thinking Hasman might have known to jig us up, and it looked like he went a little wide there to make sure that Daffer can get through, and he would lose the least amount of time. Hasman's last lap time was a 1 minute 34.7. We'll see how much it cost him letting him through. It's 35.4, so 0.7 of a second to let him through. So it didn't cost him too much, and there was no battling, so he lost even less time there. So I think Hasman is playing the long game.
Yeah, well, he's still actively battling Velasquez on track, but Velasquez is, almost 12 seconds behind as well, so he's not under much threat at the moment and should be holding on to, what do we want to say, 6th position, 7th position maybe? We'll see how far Kyrudin managed to get ahead after their pit stop and how good Hasnam's pit stop is, if Hasnam actually does do a pit stop, which, I mean, there's still the potential he won't.
Yeah, so Velasquez, his lap time at the moment is 1 minute 35.1. Hasman's last lap time before he let the Daffer through was 34.7, so he's got the pace on Velasquez there. And then on Ristofani, he's closing about half second to 3/4 of a second lap, but he's 18 seconds behind, so I think Hasman, if he's going long, he's got a good chance of snapping in second and third.
I'm not sure you can maintain that level of pace if you're running sort of a lower fuel map or anything like that. So potentially he's going to do a splash and dash in the last 20 minutes or something like that if he's still maintaining those 34s. But I mean, who knows? He might just have that BMW nicely dialed in terms of pace.
Definitely a good result if he can hold on to a podium spot because he's had a good race.
Oh, very much so. That would be very well managed pace. Just a lap before, our Am Juanita had pitted. That was Zikri and the Bentley. Came out second, 6 seconds behind. First 6 seconds behind, and is now in second place in air class.
Yeah, done well for himself there. Took advantage of the extra track position, and yeah, he's sitting nicely in second place there. And 6 seconds, that's doable in 20 minutes. So if he's got the pace on Zikri, I mean, he'll have on Hall, I mean, he'll have much fresher tyres, and he might be able to push a little bit more pace out of it. Better tyres, less fuel, who knows?
Very much so. And only about 2 seconds behind him is Rafael Chua. So the Ams could be having a nice, tasty final lap bash.
Yeah, for on-track position, we got Withers here as we see Moore has picked up drive-through. Looks like serving that drive-through. We haven't seen too many track limits drive-throughs this race, actually.
that was the 6th one. That looks like more had disconnected.
Oh, that's a shame. I wonder. Oh, I hope that was just a disconnect there. That's unfortunate for him.
We did have that drive through, didn't he? So, but it's dropped down the order fairly quickly.
So we've still got 29 cars running. 3, potentially 4 cars have now dropped out. They were 296, Mato, number 14, the Porsche, David Bartlett, 26, Benjamin Piper, and I can't see if he's still running on number 63, Thomas McKees.
So Velasquez here is still struggling to trying to make inroads on Haslam at the moment. With lap times, he's still just a little bit slow, a bit off Haslam, but it could have been also through some traffic. But with 20 minutes remaining, hopefully Haslam can just hold on for that. That'll be even better bonus if you can hold on for a second place on this podium.
Yeah, I did about an hour stint on in the McLaren, and I can tell you the tyres by the end of the hour were not happy. So Velasquez is doing very well to keep this going.
It's looking very smooth there. It's going to get a little bit of oversteer on exit. I can't tell his TC. Can anyone help me there?
Well, mate.
Is it 8?
Hey.
I'm very familiar with the Aston, so I have 2 numbers to look at. So he's on 8. I'm thinking he's over to save his tyres as much as possible.
TC8 for the BMW is pretty much the optimal TC setting, I would say, for almost any conditions.
Good to know. He's very good car control there. Probably the way to tell is coming into this corner. Actually, he's got good grip. It's not sliding. A little slide there. Well maintained. Stays wide. Looks very smooth. And the next right-hand turn is he going to go here. Keeps it nice and smooth. Looked like a little lockout from Steve Ross in front of him. And he looks like he's well in control of that car.
Yeah, he looks like he's even got a potential here for an overtake and get even further up into that top 10, which would be a good result from Malik. He's had a good race as well. Had some excitement earlier on, dropped off the pace a little bit, let his teammate through, but has still been doing well back there.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Sorry, Damien.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to say this one, Velasquez pit. So it's P2 pit. P3 pit, sorry.
Yeah, it was just going on with the Maliki was actually at the start of the race leading quite a few of, or wasn't leading the race, but he was in front of quite a few of the pro drivers and holding his head.
Oh, power off.
Cars off there.
Who was
Number
that?
29.
Miller in the Porsche.
He's had a hard race. Oh, Porsche things.
Yep, Porsche things happened, and then wall.
Oh, what's the rejoin? Well managed. Just want to point out classifications for AM, which is my favorite class to watch, is P1, P2, separated by less than a second. Nope. Zikri has got past Hall. So Zikri has made a move in the Bentley to take AM class lead. He chased him down 6 seconds. Well done.
Definitely loving this night-time driving, that's for sure.
Hall had a mistake there because the gap between Zikri and Chua is closed a little, not a lot, but Hall is slipped up.
Yeah, I think Zikri though was fairly close to Hall for a few laps.
Oh yeah, so we go. It's Hall's really pushing the car hard. Who's that next?
It's getting a little bit congested.
Oh, was that a Hazman pit?
Yep. Yeah, that would have been Haslam pitting. Coming out in 5th.
Okay, so it looks like no one's running the long run. 17 minutes to go though. That's a very long run there. That's a long time. What's
Well,
that,
but-
75 minutes?
Yeah, both Velasquez and Hasnam will have some pretty reasonable pace here in the last stint. They'll have brand new fresh tyres and barely any fuel on, so they'll be doing qualifying laps, and we could see them make a move. Similar to Zikri, who, you know, pitted quite late and is putting out some good times now as well. Just, you know, those extra fresh tyres when everyone else has got a bit more worn tyres than you and a bit less fuel, it can really make all the difference.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Hasnam served a qualifying ban, started P28, so there we go. So what a charge.
He's definitely has some pace lighting as now. I've raced against him a few times. He's a very quick driver, as we have seen his demonstration run tonight.
Well, definitely could be warranted for driver of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a good potential for it.
Yeah.
I'm sticking up for my AM class guys. Zikri, I think, has done an excellent job. P14. Another one is John Sonicus, P5 qualified, raced at P3, kept it clean. What's we got? No one else comes to mind.
I think Malik has also proved himself at the moment, but obviously he's just under a second from Ross to try and grab P8 and take home the Pro-Am.
Yeah, and Scott Hall, after being past the Zikri, is trying to hold station, and with Raphael trying to make a move on Stimson.
We're very close there.
That was Backmark coming through, a faster car coming through.
I think there's quite
Oh
a
no,
few.
no, there we go. Yep. It's,
This is our
it
back
was-
marker here, Homer, who's not had a good run of it, who's very much in the way, very bad position to be in with 4 fast cars coming up all going for position there.
I think everyone managed that very nicely indeed. No one lost the position, no one got out of place with any difficulty.
Nice big chain of our AM drivers here as Hall's coming into the pits, so obviously had been doing a long run too. We haven't been able to keep track of obviously everybody and who has done pits, but yeah, it looked like he's been doing a bit of a longer run, so that's just going to help Zikri out and give him a bit more of an advantage there. It looks like that P1 for AM in this race is kind of in the back for Zikri at the moment. He keeps clean.
Yeah, that explains some of the hard car control Hall had. His tyres were in.
So Ross has been able to overtake as well Velasquez.
Yeah, that is interesting. You would expect Velasquez to have a little bit more pace than that. What was that?
A little mistake.
Until the timing updates, Velasquez's time is faster than Ross.
Yeah, he's just gone for a big move on in there. Ooh, he's overshot it.
Now Malik's having a good look. See if he can break this train up of the McLarens.
We can have a BMW sandwich on the side of the planets. It'll be interesting watching Ross and Veliquez in front. Veliquez looks like he had a better run on Ross coming out of that corner. They're very close together in front of me. Malik will need to keep his eyes on it because there might be a bit of contact if there's a bit of a slide or a move going on if it goes wrong. Looks like Ross went a little bit wide. Veliquez has had a look on the inside. Ross has maintained the pace on the corner. It's gone a little bit wide here with Veliquez maintaining a good line through the corner. Ross definitely wide through the corner and leading on to the front straight. All 3 cars seem to have made very good positions, except Ross had a little
Too
bit
much curb. Too much curb there. Too much curb for a McLaren. He's lost a bit of speed there. Velasquez is going to take advantage of it. He's going to look up the inside here and follow it through to the outside, which isn't the best line here.
Drivers leaving plenty of racing room for each other, which has been very good.
A little bit of a tap.
Up there, yeah. Some great camera angles as well.
It looks like there's mist on the road here. Oh,
Looks
Malik's
like
made a move.
Yeah.
But Malik's taken advantage of all of that commotion ahead, been the cool, calm, and collected customer he is, and just nipped Velasquez there.
Oh, you can see the exhaust glow from the BMW from way up here as well. Oh, Hall's got a drive through, probably for a pit lane speeding infringement down P10.
That's not good.
Especially when it was only 10 minutes ago.
Just look like Velasquez is maybe trying to just see if he can get a moment and get back in front of Malik and try and get the job done on Ross. So I'd like to know what happened. I think Velasquez obviously made a mistake because he was a little bit in front of Ross before we've come to all this action.
I think it was on this corner, but the following corner, the really tricky right-lefter that we got here. I think he got a little bit out of order, and that allowed Malik to get a run. But they all got very good pace, being potentially held up by Ross here.
Yeah, I'd say. Sorry, go.
Sorry, especially for Malik, as he's just had a pit some new tyres. There's Philby back in P10. 20 has also a drive through. That one could be for track limits. As Paul takes his penalty. Oh, Paul's taken a penalty. That would be a track limits, not for speeding in the pits.
Yeah, we might see a couple more of those. There could be a few people there who are on their last warning. It's a long race to do here at Misano. I think Velasquez has definitely got the overall pace here of these three drivers. I think he's definitely the faster. He's just got to hook it up and make those overtakes happen in the right places.
Well, here we go. Ross has had a bit of a slide outside the corner again. I think Malik was lining that up. Straight past him. He got the move on, taking the ends, giving a bit of room on the inside. Ross has had a little bit of slide on the curbing there. Has this allowed Velasquez to come through, rounding outside. Malik giving room on the inside. He's going to have a bit of space now. And he's made the move successful. Velasquez will need to get through on the next segment to keep his pace up and keep the race going.
Yeah, you want to overtake soon so that Malik doesn't just run away with it. But good race from Ross. He's been in that position for a little while. He's held onto it quite well, so he's still doing quite well.
And the leader is coming through.
Yeah.
This is the chance now for Velasquez to get a move on Ross. Well, the leader's getting past. No, wasn't able to do it. These guys are doing a very good job letting the leader through. Yes, for me it looked like Malik was lining up Ross for that last turn, because Ross was always having a little bit of issues. He was trying to overpower, hitting the curbs and the rumble strips and the sausage curbs and get a little bit out of order. And I think Malik was giving a bit of space for you to have a really nice smooth run on, and that's what's happened there. And that is why Velasquez was catching up to the back of Malik, because Malik was giving himself some pace for a good sling out through the corner. Comments?
No, I think that's a pretty good assessment of it.
Just doing a little wobble then. I don't know if it was just a little bit from the game there, but from Duffer. But it's obviously a masterclass race from Duffer tonight.
Yes. New pole for the Simrigs Sprint Series Round 3 Misano. We have who's your driver of the day? And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. So we've got Duffer, Demario, John Sonicus, Mohammed Zikri. And I've just noticed it said the first two guys first name and the last two guys for full names. Sorry about that, fellas.
For me, I think sheer effort-wise, I think Hasnam's done a great job. I mean, all 4 of those drivers could potentially take it out. It'll be interesting to see who people choose. Hasnam probably my pick, just because I love someone who can start at the back and finish quite high. That's always a good effort. But I mean, Senekis has done really, really well. We've barely seen him because he's just driven so cleanly and so consistently, and he's just holding onto that position now. He's jumped up all the way in 3rd position at the moment.
He's in the race.
He is. Yeah, he's in the race, but that's it. It's, the drivers you don't see are the ones who are the most consistent, most clean, and doing well there. He's got the livery, it's inspired him. That's it. There we go. We got a good shot there. And shout out to Daffer too, he's led the whole race, but he's done it well. Ooh, we see Velasquez crying on the outside, maybe getting a little impatient now. He's only got 6 minutes left, so he does want to make this move happen, and you can definitely see Ross holding him up. And he's probably a bit desperate to get moving because he wants to gain a couple more positions and try and catch Malik. But I think Malik's got enough pace with the gap there is. I don't know if Velasquez can catch him, but I certainly think there's potential that he'll take Ross before the end of this race.
It's got about 4 laps, I estimate, to get this done, depending on how the crosses as a back marker lets them through. Oh, there's a bit of slide on the dirt there. There's that upsetting for the next corner as we get a run on, and that's not that they've both had both of them have had a bad race.
And don't forget also Senekis set up the podium spot at this moment with the undercut he did with his pit stop on Jacobs.
Yeah, exactly right.
Fooled the oh, geez.
Oh no, that's Zikri getting taken out there, is it? Oh no, it's Simpson.
Oh, P2M. Oh, sad news there. So he would have lost quite a few places there.
Yeah, that pack was really close together, so that will cost quite a bit there. It'll be interesting, maybe a replay of exactly what happened there, but it did look like whoever was the driver behind probably just not braking early enough or just not seeing in there. Again, can't discount what the darkness does here too. It can make even other cars a bit hard to see, or hard to see exactly where people are moving and stuff like that, even if they're, regardless of whether they're blue flags or not.
Velasquez on rocks down to turn 1.
Yep.
The battle of the McLarens.
It's a good sounding battle.
And he's managed to stay in front there.
Yeah, Ross has really been doing very well here. It's clear that he's not quite got the same pace as Velasquez or as Malik, but he's been doing a really good job of holding that position and defending it, and that's talent into it as itself. So big shout out to Ross here. He's doing a great job.
Absolutely, and judging by the timing on the circuit there, P910 swapped over when it went through the next time the circle, so Velasquez was actually in front of him across the timing. So he did make the position, but only momentarily through turns 1 and 2. It's hard to break away from this race because I really want to talk about my driver of the day. Just quickly, Daffa is lapped up to P7 now. Demario Hasman starting from the back. John Sonicus, excellent smooth drive, made 2 positions from pole with a very fast race, securing potentially 3rd place. And Mohammed Zikri, our AM driver in P14, great race.
There we go. Chris Withers has got another penalty. That might have been the car involved. Collecting that car that we seen earlier.
Yeah, 10 seconds does seem about right for what it looked like happened there.
Looks like Velasquez is having a little look on Ross here. Ross is defending very easily in the turn 1. Yes, and Velasquez does not want contact, which is good. I'm thinking 2 more laps, guys?
Yeah, I'd say so.
He's got a little bit of time. But the way Ross has been driving, he's been positioning that car in the right spot each time.
Well, I'm going to call it my driver of the day, Mohammed Zikri.
I think there's so much, but I don't know if there is only 4 potential applicants here. I think there's been some great performances from heaps of drivers. We've got this great battle that's been going on for a while between these two. Both very quick drivers, doing very well and really pushing it.
I'm thinking Veloquest has, at the moment, the better drive getting out of the corners, whether it's by, there we go, Zikri started P26, currently P14.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah, great drive. Kept it straight, kept it going. And I think Veloquest has a better drive either by better tyres or better management. I think he's got better drive out the corners.
Yeah, I'd say that comes down to the fuel as well, although the fuel levels are probably matching pretty closely now. But yeah, I'd say a lot of that's coming from those tyres and stuff, but that's not to take anything away from Velasquez there either. I think both drivers are they're probably a bit closer to match pace-wise than I initially said, having watched them for a few more laps here.
So it looks like this will be the last lap.
We have another close race, Weatherburn and Sifrig, P12 and P13. Gap is 0.18.
Will he survive the final lap? We would hope so.
He had a bit of a balls up at Brands Hatch.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was a car spun in front of him and he didn't slow down and actually collected him as he went through the corner. Mind you, I have not seen a replay, I've only seen it once, so that's the way I see it without seeing a replay. So if that's not true, I'll take it all back because I haven't seen a replay of it. Oh, and Paul Miller, another drive-through for limits.
Yeah.
As Veloquest is having a move on Ross.
So maybe it was a 60% of rejoin last week.
Yes, I'd say the guy that went off in front of him didn't hold his brakes. And that is...
That's it. That's the checkered flag.
Did he get it? Yes, he did. He did it. Okay, well done for Dafa. Secures his first win. Congratulations. Very fast, very well driven. We have Ristofani with two more corners to go. Hopefully he gets going straight and he will be finishing second.
Yeah, great drive from Ristofani as well. Again, another one didn't see a lot of during the race, but just kept it clean and consistent and, yep, got P2 there. Very good job.
John Sonicus securing the podium in third place.
Yeah, great drive by Sonicus.
There we go. Driver of the day has been decided. Oh, yeah, excellent driving there. Well
There
done.
we go.
It's just he's mad it wasn't P2. That's all that is.
Suddenly exploded and he's gone into the wall. Jacobs coming through in fourth, and Hasman 4 seconds behind him will be fifth. Then Kai Rudin and Ricciani, and that is previous cars coming in.
There
And
we go.
Nafa is driver of the day. I saw it first.
And well deserved, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the drivers nominated for driver of the day, well deserved. Kai Rudin's come through in P6, well driven.
Daffa winning that by 58% of the vote as well, so
Yeah.
clearly the audience favourite.
Oh, absolutely. It was a driving demonstration. Very obvious the Daff had done the job. DeMario gets 25%, Zikri gets 16, and unfortunately John couldn't get any votes. 12 votes in total. And
I think Page has obviously taken all of the votes for John out of there. That's what I would say.
Oops.
still got 2 cars running, or 4 cars running, 5 cars running. Now, are these guys finished or are they still running? P20 Donaldi
Back in the pits.
hasn't said he's crossed the line yet. Anyhow, and that is the end of round 3 for Simrigs Sprint Series Misano. We'll just wait for everyone to get back to the pits and finish off. Here we go. This is an extra lap by somebody.
I think that was
3 BMWs.
Arnie, I think it was. It was a colourful BMW.
For completeness, +1.
Great racing there from Split Green tonight. Excellent racing. Just so much action. Heaps of good little battles going on there. some interesting strategy choices, lots to look at, lots to talk about. Unfortunately, no rain, so whoever did the rain dance, you didn't do it right tonight. But great race all up.
Yeah, so it was a very good, clean opening lap. Some incidents on turn 2 of the second lap, and a couple more during the race.
Green light, give it all you can.
But overall, a very clean race, I thought. Neil, take us away.
Oh, well, what am I taking away? Sorry.
As in, call out the top 10s.
Okay, well, we've got Ardesina in first with Ristofani, Sonicus in third, Jacobs fourth, Hasnam in fifth, Karuden in sixth, Riccatini in seventh, Malik in eighth, Ross ninth, and Velasquez in 10th.
All right. So that's for the Pro-Ams. We've got Malik taking it out eventually. Ross coming up very well deserved in second. And then I apologize. I can't even attempt that name, but well done to you in third. Number 7 Honda. I apologize. I'll butcher it if I try. We had Zikri, Chua, and Stimson as our top 3.
And just a point of reference for the championship leaders, 1, 2, and 3 overall, it's Ristofani, Sonicus, and Jacobs. So they finished in order as they finished this race. So everyone stretches their gaps on their challenges by the same amount. Thank you very much, everybody. That was a great call. I enjoyed being in the booth with you, Mike. Thank you for coming in, and thank you, Neil. Your first call.
Yes, thank you for having me. I learned a bit and enjoyed myself.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Neil. Thanks to you, Damiano. Thanks, obviously, to Neil for doing all of the wonderful camera work and the broadcast for us as well. And obviously our sponsors, Simrigs, and everybody else in chat. Got to remember you guys there too as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And that'll do. We've got more racing tomorrow night, where we have the next 2 splits, and they will be racing at the same times. And same track, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can top this. I think these guys have done well. I mean, I didn't get to see my own race from a very good perspective, but Split Green have set the benchmark for me this round.
Indeed. And thank you, stewards. Thank you, race director.
Cheerio.